I wish you'd use that more, but not necessarily
All
on
right.
the desk.
Everybody will go ahead and put your phones on airplane mode if you could, or silence. Let's call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Backus. Okay. Mr. Bryant.
Here.
Mr. France.
Here.
Mr. Fouché.
Here.
Mr. Lewis.
Present.
Mr. Pearson.
Here.
Mr. Powell.
Here.
Ms. Robinson.
Here.
Ms. Wilhelmi.
Here.
Okay.
Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I'm sorry, Mr. Palmer.
And I am
Mr. Augustus Palmer.
I'm here as
Thank
well.
you.
Erica's here too.
You forgot to call me as well too.
Who? Mr. Gaines. Oh, okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to announce to our fellow committee members that Ms. Robinson, 2 days ago, defended her thesis and officially has received her doctorate. Very proud of that for you. I know that's a monster effort for anyone to pursue, for sure. Mr. Green, can I please call you to the podium?
Name and address. Brian Green, 2429 Mount Auburn. Glad to be here today. I don't know where to start. I'll do the best I can. I want to first say, for my topic is going to be, well, I'm going to make a suggestion at the end, but the elephant and the crocodile. The elephant and the crocodile. First thing I like to do is commend you all for your work. I was under the illusion that I wanted to serve on this committee, because I was like, oh, I'd love to be a part of that. But I probably wouldn't have made it past 5 meetings. Madam Chairman, I'll come to you with an assessment. This is what I got. Dap up, and we call it a day. So I commend y'all for the time you spent on this, because I know you can't get time back. What has consolidation brought us, folks? Kind of a philosophical question, but think about it. These are some of my takes. We've gotten whining from the seat of mayor. I don't have a vote. Wham, 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 for the last 30 years. I'm just talking what I've observed. We've gotten pipe dreams and slogans and to look good in the front of the media. From that position. And also a $64,000 Tahoe with 2 sunroofs and custom wheels, by the way. Thanks to taxpayers. Nice vehicle, thanks to taxpayers, though. And the commission, to me, has ignored the elephant in the room, which I think is teamwork. But yet, and that's what the little philosophy about the elephant and the crocodile, but they fed the crocodile of appeasement, appeasing voters and status quo. I think there's a voter denial. Some of you've heard me say at some of these meetings, did we not vote on consolidation? And we're here? And I just mentioned this is like Twilight Zone stuff. You just voted to give the mayor a vote. I don't understand what the problem is, because that right there to me is the whole core of the issue. So I just, those meetings just, they begin to frustrate me. My last 2 items is this. What brings me here today? Like Churchill said, the feeding of the crocodile is you feed the crocodile in hopes that he'll eat you last. So my suggestion to you is this, and this is paramount, as a balance of power, that we propose an 8-majority commission, not 6. It's too easy to get 6 people. That goes against the grain of consolidation. 8-majority, which would encourage diplomacy. 8 out of 10 is fair. 6 out of 10 is too easy. It's too easy. And we're talking about the future of this county. And, so those are my suggestions, Madam Chairman. I put the commission should not have been allowed to impose their political will. Basically, that's what we've been doing on department heads, by the way. I think that needs to be on there. Commissioners need to lay off department heads, period, and let them do their job and demonstrate their expertise.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Are there any questions for Mr. Green? I would like to get your phone number. I think you're going to be, at least on the second count, you're going to be very happy.
Right on.
Mr. Powell.
Mr. Green, thank you. I've been in the commission chambers when you've gotten up in front of the commission and spoken, and everything that you've brought before the commission needed to be brought before the commission. And I appreciate what you do in the community.
Thank you.
And as for your possibly wanting to be on this commission, when I got on, I had 2 friends. Now I may have to rent pallbearers, but I appreciate you for what you do for the community. And a lot of folks don't realize what you do, but I do. And thank you, sir, for standing up for Augusta.
Thank you for your comments.
All right, there are no others in the queue. Thank you for coming before this body.
My pleasure.
And somehow, if I can get your phone number so I can reach you, I got some other questions for you on somewhat
I get that a
tangential.
lot.
What's that?
I get that a lot. You're being asked for my number, but
Yep.
I'll get it.
Thank you, hey, maybe just give it to Natasha here, and we'll get it. All right, our second speaker today is Dr. Gayla Kesey.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am Gayla Kesey, co-chair and co-president of the League of Women Voters of the CSRA. Over multiple meetings, the March 6 crossover deadline has been referenced as the determining deadline for whether charter revisions can reach the November ballot. That understanding has shaped the committee's scheduling and the urgency to complete recommendations before that date. Based on a recent discussion with Senator Harold Jones, however, a member of our local delegation, there are 2 possible legislative pathways for charter revisions. If the charter proceeds as general legislation, it would be subject to that March 6 crossover deadline. However, if it proceeds as local legislation through the local delegation, that crossover deadline does not apply. It would still need to pass through the legislative session, but it would not be constrained by crossover. That distinction matters because it affects whether March 6 is a binding statutory deadline or simply one possible pathway. If flexibility exists within the legislative process, then the committee has the opportunity to focus on getting this done correctly, not just quickly. On February 13th, I sent an email raising specific concerns about public access to materials, including the placement and visibility of the January 26 memorandum from Rex Facer summarizing motions adopted and language approved to date. That memorandum functions as the most consolidated summary of the substantive changes under considerations. Residents have repeatedly asked what is actually going to the legislature. That document is the clearest consolidated answer to that question. I located only by accident while navigating the site to sign up for public comment today. It is not prominently linked, and there was no public notification, and we talked about that at the last meeting when updates were made. Posting information is not the same as ensuring public awareness. Furthermore, there's a public hearing tonight scheduled for 6 p.m. What proactive outreach beyond website updates has been implemented to ensure that residents understand both the proposed changes and the opportunity to participate? Where are the explainer videos, the podcast appearances, letters to the editor, the social media posts that were discussed? When public trust is already fragile, visibility and clarity are not optional, they are essential. If this committee wants meaningful participation from the public, it should actively promote both the summary of those proposed changes and the hearings themselves. Thank you.
Mr. Fouché is first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May I address Dr. Kesey directly?
You may.
Good morning, Dr. Kesey.
Good morning.
Did you discuss the March 6th crossover date with any other legislators other than Representative Jones, Senator Jones?
No, we were up for a legislative day, and we were talking about various issues and various things going on locally because it was our delegation from the league, and all we did was ask about the March 6th crossover day.
Was Senator Max Burns present at that meeting?
It was in Senator Harold Jones's office, so no.
Okay. Did you consult Representative Mark Newton?
Why would I consult either one of those people on a legislative option? All I'm saying is that we have the option of having it presented as a legislative delegation, and the delegation it's up to them whether they approve it, how they want to do it. All I'm doing is telling it these options are available.
Well, to answer your question for me, Representative Newton and Senator Max Burns are both representatives of this delegation, and they have strong opinions about whether or not this charter may or may not go up or down. Are you also aware that a local election requires a unanimous vote from all of our legislators?
Yes. So that means they would have to work together.
Are you aware that a unanimous vote has never occurred?
It's not something that I have looked at. So I am just simply offering those two opportunities and giving you that information because we've been operating under the March 6th deadline, but that is not one that you have to hold to. If you want to do that, yes. But I think what you're trying to say is that I didn't talk to the Republicans on this committee because those are the two that you've named. And all I did was talk to Senator Jones about about this opportunity. And it was something new to me because I've been pushing the March 6th deadline because I thought that was what had to happen.
Dr. Kesey, I'm simply trying to state things for the record so that other viewers of this meeting can observe what is happening here. Considering the failures the city of Augusta has experienced with our current charter, is there a reason why this committee should not be motivated for our newly constructed charter to appear on a ballot in 26 versus 27?
No, what I'm saying is if it is approved during this legislative session, then then in all likelihood it'll go on the November 26th ballot. It just needs to be approved in this legislative session, whether that is before crossover day or whether that is simply during the session.
If it doesn't occur before March 6th, it's not going to make the crossover date, Dr. Kesey.
But
So
what I'm saying
my point is there a reason why this committee should not be motivated for our newly constructed charter to appear on a ballot in 26 versus 27?
That's not any here nor there. That's not your decision.
Well,
That's the legislative body's decision, and I think you're taking that. It's up to the legislative body how they do that. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not yours on how it is presented in the legislature.
I'm going to ask anyone viewing this video recorded meeting to ask themselves if Augusta can withstand another year of budget deficits. And wouldn't our new charter, and as hard as this entire committee has worked on it, be a better substitute than what we currently work with? I think the answer to that is yes. And Madam Chair, I'd like to have a roll call vote up or down on, is it the will of this committee to have this new charter on a 26th ballot? I'd request a roll call vote on that.
Is that a motion?
Madam Chair?
I would actually
We
oppose
got
that.
people in the queue.
You're right. So
This-
we'll bring that up under new business, but I don't know that we can do it right this second.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you for that. So a couple of things. I understand where Mr. Fouché is coming from. In all honesty, it's one of those things where we want to make sure our work is in the forefront of people where they're understanding it and retaining it now. Because yeah, if we do this next year, we will have lost a lot of that momentum. But what this body also has to remember is it still has to make it through the legislative body. And from the legislators I've talked to, and I've talked to quite a few, that's really up in the air, whether it will even make it to a ballot. So I think, as you stated, we should focus on doing the good work first. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, the legislative body decides what they want. Because we could send this thing to them and they pull it apart and take out things that we suggested, and so on and so forth. As far as communication with the public, the thing I would like most folks to understand about this body is we don't have a budget to do any of that. All of that type of communication is supposed to come through the city. The city is supposed to inform the people of what's happening with Charter Review. The city is supposed to inform of these things. So while public notices and things of that are happening, whoever runs our social media accounts for the city, they're not also putting in that effort too. So as a member of this committee, I apologize that has not been done effectively, but it's also something that has been out of our hands. Many of us individually have done our best to try to educate the community. We have recorded videos. Those are on the way. Some folks have done podcasts here and there where we discuss some of those things. That material is on the way. There are articles that have been posted on the Augusta Press behind the paywall, unfortunately. So we have tried our best to do what we can within the parameters of what we have available to you, but I do completely agree that I don't think we did the best job. But it also wasn't necessarily we didn't have the ability to do that because we don't run communications for the city. So hopefully, as we go into this process where this thing gets to the legislative body, hopefully the city will do a lot more in that communication. Of course, we as a committee will continue to do some of that work because none of us want to have wasted an entire year to get this to the public and then it go nowhere, because then who does it serve at that point? I know for a fact that when consolidation happened, it was a 2-year process because of these very things. It got to the legislative body. They didn't like certain things. It got sent back. So as much as I don't want to do that, as a steward of the city, if that's what we have to do to make it right for the people, then that's just what we have to do. But I do appreciate you kind of keeping us accountable for certain things like that. Some things got to keep the city accountable for, though. But we'll do the best we can.
All I know is that I was asked to come up with suggested ways for outreach and was told that somebody would be in touch with me and we would discuss them, and crickets. So that's my question. I've been doing as much as I can as far as on my public page and the league page promoting this and letting people know. But I haven't seen a whole lot coming from anybody. And in fact, one of the things that I did see posted in the Laney Walker neighborhood was 3 alternative town halls on different dates. And I questioned, I said, who's proposing these? Who's doing these? I didn't hear anything in response. So I don't know who, where, or whether that was even what that was. But that is confusing if that is also going out. As far as the delegation, When you talk to delegation members and they say, I have issues, how do they have issues when we haven't put anything out for them to even look at to know whether they have issues? That's part of it. But like I said, also, just because they've never gotten along or they've never passed it doesn't mean it can't happen. We only have, we have just a few. We don't have a big delegation for them to work together. And I think that is something that's important, because if they go in and they make changes, or if they are perceived as not being in full agreement, the legislature is going to look at that too. Okay? And so are they going to pass that legislation if the members of the local delegation aren't in agreement on it?
Madam Chair, can we get back on
Yes,
track?
Ms.
Thank you very
Backus?
much.
We're going to cut this short, please. I know the members will do what they can.
Dr. Kesey, can you tell me, because I know that you've been involved in this process quite a bit, can you tell me where in the resolution it talks about this committee being involved in when it goes on the ballot?
No, there's nothing in there.
Is there anything that mentions a responsibility for us to get it on the 26 or 27 ballot?
No.
So when it talks about our work, when does our work get done as a committee?
Your work is done when you hand over your completed project, what y'all finalize from the Carl Vinson Institute, and you hand it to the legislature, you hand it to the commission, you hand it to the other elected officials named in that resolution. Your work is done.
And what was our deadline?
The end of March.
And when does the legislative session end?
April 6th, I think.
Okay, so I just want to clear that up, because there's a lot of conversation about mandates and what we as a committee are mandated to do. The only thing that the resolution, which was voted on and approved by the governing body that created this committee, the only thing they asked us to do was to do our job correctly. They didn't talk about deadlines other than when our deadline is. When the legislature needs it is beyond us. And although there has been, as was stated this morning, committee motivation to push it onto the 26th ballot, if you look at the deadlines that are in the resolution, it was never a reality based upon those deadlines. And this is not something we are mandated to do. We are mandated to do our jobs correctly. So talking about getting it March 6th, we haven't even held our town halls. And from my recollection, when we asked for these town halls all the way back in December, we asked for them because the community wanted input before that final charter was put forward. How are we talking about voting on it on March 5th? And we haven't even heard from the community. We don't know if we're going to get feedback from them that says, hey, we might want to change something. Thank you.
And
Mr.
you
Gaines,
also have the
excuse me.
option of extra
Ms.
6
Casey,
months.
Dr. Kesey. Mr. Gaines.
Madam Chair, I just have this one comment to make in reference to the committee here. I think it's important that we remind each and every last committee member up here that we should not be creating the perception that committee members are trying to stop or not proceed further with this actual charter. I think everyone has contributed considerable amount of time to this document, and in my opinion, I feel that everyone up here has worked relatively well towards making changes to this document. So it's when we start talking about educating the public on the revision of the changes that we've made to the document here, that it's also important that we make sure that we have a unified front, especially if we want this document to push forward in the community. So just constant reminder, just I wanted to give to our committee members.
Thank you, Mr. Gaines, and I completely agree with that comment. And I appreciated that from your vantage point, we are working well together, which I believe we are. All right, there are no other comments in the queue. That takes us to old business. Let's go to the minutes, please. Madam Clerk, thank you for providing those. So this was sent to you a day or two ago, and this captures action items along with who voted for what the prior meeting. Just take a second. I believe Mr. Fouché would need one if we had one, but if we got an extra one.
We can share.
Okay. All right, does anybody have any changes to the minutes that they'd like to propose or bring to our attention? If not, can we have a motion to accept as submitted?
A motion that we accept the
Second.
Okay,
motion.
yes, ma'am. Okay, Dr. Robinson moved and Mr. Powell seconded.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's cast our votes. Thank you, Ms. Gmonter.
Okay. Ms. Wilhelmi?
Yes?
Mr. Pearson? Yes. Okay. It's unanimous.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, this moves us into, I think I'm going to defer to Mr. Fouché on section 1-40.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We carried this over from our last meeting. We wanted clarity on the language which has been provided on our agenda for this morning. I'll read that into the meeting. The motion is to substitute new language for the Equal Opportunity Section 1.40 in our current charter with the following language. The government of Augusta, Richmond County shall encourage the meaningful involvement in its operations of all citizens of Augusta, Richmond County in accordance with federal and state EEO guidelines and procedures. The Commission shall afford equal opportunities for employment and promotion to all persons and businesses. Section B, it is the policy of the Augusta, Richmond County government to secure the most qualified and talented individuals for employment, vendor relationships, and provisions of goods and services. Section C, in furtherance of these policies stated in subsections A and B of this section, the Commission shall employ a person to serve as Equal Opportunity Director. The Director shall develop and, subject to the approval of the Commission, implement such policies, procedures, and guidelines as the Director deems necessary or appropriate to ensure equal opportunities are taking place for all citizens and that licensed contractors and businesses residing in Augusta, Richmond County are given additional consideration. Subsection D, the Commission shall establish a citizen advisory council to advise the Commission and Director on matters pertaining to this section and its enforcement.
Is there a second for this motion?
I second it.
Mr. Gaines? So Mr. Fouché and Mr. Gaines.
Thank you, Mr. Gaines.
I'm sorry? Do we have any other comments other than what was just read into the record? Robinson?
Ms. Backus had to step into the back really quick. So if we could hold the
Yes.
vote just one moment.
Let's just take a moment of grace. Thank you for that. Okay, if we will cast our votes for Equal Opportunity Section 1-40.
Can I?
Oh, Ms. Backus wants to
Can
make
I
a
just-
comment first, please.
I
Say-
apologize. I'm not feeling well this morning. I had one question. So we're taking out all of the different special interest groups, but we're keeping local in as a special interest group. Should it not be all or nothing? But it is a special interest group if we're giving special interest to them.
Okay, Mr. Lewis?
Did we discuss the advisory, citizen advisory board, and how many members it consists of? The second, section D.
We did not discuss that other than to delegate to the commission the establishment of a board. That was the way it was written in there. Angela, if you want to put that into the form of a substitute motion, that would be the way to handle that, I believe. Because
Well, I was actually looking for input from the other members on that because, for instance, if we're going to take out that minorities can get an, I'm not finding the right word, so pardon me if I'm using the wrong ones. They're given an advantage. I don't know if that's the correct term, but we're taking that out, but we're gonna give an advantage to local businesses. Why aren't we taking out advantages overall? Why is it okay with some and not with the other?
okay, Dr. Robinson?
So the local isn't considered a special interest group by EEO guidelines. So the EEO guidelines is what governs the quote-unquote special interest groups. Local provides additional consideration, not preferential consideration. So it's not that they automatically will pick the local. It's like, okay, the local ones, if they're more qualified, then they're likely going to get additional consideration, not preferential. So that's why it's not the same as a special interest group. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Fouché?
Madam Chair, thank you. I believe Mrs. Baco's concerns are addressed in the last sentence of Section A, and I'll reread that. The Commission shall afford equal opportunities for employment and promotion to all persons and businesses. No one is excluded from that.
Ms. Bacos?
Again, if I could just clarify, I understand what Dr. Robinson is saying as far as local may not be a special interest group, and it doesn't fall under equal opportunity, yet it is mentioned under equal opportunity. So if it's not a special interest group, why is it there? So my fear would be if we're taking out, for instance, giving minorities.
We're not taking that out. Minorities are included.
But it's no longer listed. And so it doesn't state that those groups are given additional consideration, but it does keep local in as additional consideration. So what that sounds like to me is, okay, what that sounds like to me is traditionally, historically, those groups have had additional consideration. So now, essentially, white-owned local businesses will be given additional consideration over minorities.
Ma'am, it doesn't specify any one group gets special consideration. It
But
just
local
specifies
does.
Local contractors pay license fees. Local contractors live here. Local contractors have a personal interest in making sure their tax dollars are spent wisely.
Also, local businesses have more of an ability to influence the people that are giving contracts.
Dr. Robinson?
In Section A, the very first sentence says, in accordance with federal and state EEO guidelines and procedures. This is stating any group that falls under state or federal EEO guidelines and procedures are included. The only thing we did was not list them out specifically. One reason to do that is because state and federal EEO guidelines and procedures can change who those groups are, what is included in that. So a way to get around that, not get around that, a way to make things cleaner so we're not having to adjust it later is to say that we're specifically going to follow these guidelines. That doesn't take anything away so much as we're going to follow the federal and state guidelines that are presented for EEO. Local getting additional consideration, again, isn't preferential. It doesn't mean they're going to automatically get it because they're local. We took that part out. We had a huge discussion on that. So I understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, wouldn't you want it to be local? Wouldn't that be a preference of people who live here that also pay taxes here, that also shop here? Wouldn't that be a preference? Because you do have some cities where it is preferential for various reasons, or even if you have to be located in the state. So I understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, what you're asking for is already covered in federal and state EEO guidelines and procedures. It's just not listed out.
Thank you. Mr. France.
Madam Chair, thank you. I think at this point we have kicked this can down the road far enough, and we should go ahead and we're going to have a difference of opinion, but we should go ahead and vote on this matter and move on.
Okay. Coach Bryant? Okay, very good. Attorney Plunkett has asked for just...
As to Section A, the last sentence, I believe based on y'all's conversation, it may be better read, the commission shall afford equal opportunities for employment, comma, promotion, and to all persons and businesses. I think the and is in the wrong location for what y'all have been discussing. So or you could do employment and promotion and to all persons. You could either put a comma and, or you can have two ands, or you can have a comma and one and, but I think your and is in the wrong location. Just a small, so that no one gets down the road trying to figure out, are we promoting all persons? Okay.
Good input. Mr. Pearson?
You know, thank you, Madam Chair. What the government does or says in writing is one thing, and, you know, what you do is another. It's just something that I wouldn't put in writing. You know, that's just my position. If that's your intent to look at local businesses or vendors or whatever, give them additional and what I would call preferential consideration, I wouldn't put it in writing. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. By acclamation, is it the will of this body to accept the recommendations to put the extra commas in to add clarity? Okay, thank you.
No.
Okay, Ms. Bacros would vote against that. Let's go ahead, and the group is going to accept the changes and let us cast our votes. So we have...
Madam Chair?
Yes?
Mr. Pearson?
No.
That motion carries 8-2.
Okay.
9-2, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to new business, let us call either Dr. Facer or Ms. Brill. I'm not certain who's handling this section.
Madam Chair, before you move to Dr. Facer,
Okay.
are we gonna act upon what the lawyer suggested, or are we just gonna leave it as is?
You would like a second vote on the changes as a group? Is that what you're asking for?
Well, I just want to know maybe I should put in the form of a motion in.
That'd be fine.
So I move that we accept the comma and remove the and in that statement of that motion.
Okay, second. So it's codifying what we just voted to accept. Mr. Lewis made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Palmer. Okay. All right. Any further discussion? If not, please cast your votes. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Yes?
Mr. Pearson? That motion carries 9-1-1, with Ms. Bacchus voting no and Mr. Pearson abstaining.
Okay. Dr. Facer.
Yes, thank you. As I indicated in a memo that we shared with you all, we have made significant progress on the drafting of the charter. And in doing that, there have been some kind of technical issues, if you will, that we need some additional clarification on to make sure that we get your intentions correct. And so if you'll first review the elements not yet voted on and issues for clarification memo. There were a number of issues that we've talked about, or at least that we believe we've talked about, but we want to make sure that we have captured your preference. And so the first one of those is, these are issues that we do not believe have been voted on. The first one is eminent domain. There should be a provision in the charter that addresses eminent domain. You have the language that we have for that. Now, my intent in sharing this with you is to one, get some sense of your overall will towards these items, so that when we bring back a completed document, you could then formally vote on them at that time, if that makes some sense. And so we do have copies for those of you that may not have printed them out. No, it's there's. Yeah.
Dr. Facer, did you have additional you wanted to contribute on this section before I go to comments?
So, no, I think comments are fine.
All right, very good. Mr. Gaines.
Madam Chair, this question is for Dr. Facer. Just have a question in reference to eminent domain. I see what we have written here on 2-16. Just curious, is this typical language for other municipalities and things of that sort?
Yes, and well, I'll allow Ms.
Yes,
I'll seek comment from Ms. Brill. So.
this is standard language that they all use, yes.
Okay.
Pardon me, Mr. Fouché.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a lot of angst with the eminent domain as written. I can only imagine the disaster that it would entail if Augusta was operating a hospital or a medical institution, and I just have great reservation about having things like that listed in a charter.
So again, this is very standard language that is typically used in charters for the eminent domain clause. Much of that is driven from case law as well as standard practice. But you're right, it is granting the local government a significant power, the power of takings. Now, if you don't include it, there is still an inherent ability of the government to act in this way.
Yeah, the government has the power of eminent domain in this way, whether we list it out or not. So they have this power. And this is generally how it's done across the country.
Is that through charter, or is it through ordinance, or is it through state law?
State.
Okay, so why do we have to?
Because it's a good thing to include in the charter.
So I'm slow, help me with that.
All charters do, so it's spelled out, the eminent domain, because I think perhaps maybe because of your reservation, so that people know that that is a power that they do have.
But we have worked vicariously to eliminate duplication of state law.
Right, but there are some things, for instance, in elections and other things that it's necessary, I believe, to have in the charter. It's up to you. If you don't want to, that's fine.
I defer to my fellow committee members. Do you have thoughts?
It's not my choice, it is your choice, but yeah, that's why we did it.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Johnson? Dr. Robinson, pardon me.
A good reason eminent domain allows for airports, hospitals, and things like that is in the realm of disaster. Your city would need the ability to build a hospital, even if it's a bunch of tents really quick. So that's a part of that as well. So just to kind of clarify the purposes of this, most of your cities know they can't afford to run a hospital and they don't even try. But in the instance of a disaster or an emergency, they have to have those powers to do that, else they would have to hold a commission meeting to be able to do it. So that's kind of the purpose around that. My other comment is, as we go through these, I would, and this may be a question for our attorney, if we can start adding these things to our consent agenda.
Okay, there's a couple, I'm aware of a couple comments and questions that we'll have to kind of work our way through. If it suits you better, we can take a vote on each individual thing, or if we don't think that's necessary, we can. Right. Okay, we've got Ms. Backus.
Ms. Brill, I just have a question for you. Is this currently in our charter? And if it is, what's the difference between this new terminology and what is currently in the charter?
I remember looking it up, but I will have to look at it again, whether or not I don't think if it's in there, this is not the way it is worded.
Okay. Well, and I think for any of these, that's going to be important to know what the changes are as opposed to what we currently have. But I agree with Mr. Fouché on this. If it's covered by state law, I don't necessarily understand why we need to have it in the charter.
That's a choice that's up to you. It is I was just proffering it because that is something that is generally additionally included, even though it's in state law. But that decision is completely up to this body.
Mr. Gaines?
Sorry, real quickly. What it says in the previous charter is the governing authority of each county and each municipality may exercise the power of eminent domain for any public purpose, which is quoting state law. And whereas here, it just lists them out, so.
Madam Chair, and I guess now that we've had some further questions on this, and we've listed this out here, is there a process that we also need to include in here? And this is me just kind of asking a question here, but does it take so many folks on the commission to approve actual eminent domain, or is it just something that someone on the commission says that we need to exercise due to a natural disaster like was just mentioned, or?
That's a question for council.
Okay.
So eminent domain would require the vote of a majority of the commission. While there could be some emergency situations, what this is looking at is generally that we're going to build something. It may be a road. And so you may have to acquire right of way and things of that, so you can condemn property. If you were building a new municipal building and you require all but one tract of land, you have the ability to acquire that through condemnation or eminent domain. The one thing that state law prohibits, or I think it may be actually federal law that prohibits you from doing it for private gain. In other words, we can't condemn it for a private purpose. If you notice, all of these are very public purposes. I mean, obviously, you can have the hospital was mentioned, you could have a private hospital, but you can also have a public hospital. So this is only for public purposes. If there's angst over having, the included but not limited to language, then I think you could go back to what you have in the charter in that regard. It just helps. In my opinion, we had this conversation about civil court. Well, civil court is available. It's under state law. So, but sometimes people don't recognize it. And so by putting in the charter, it just kind of draws attention that power is there.
Right.
So having it in there, it's not, the commission could always do it, but it's nice to be able to say they have it and then we don't get into a dispute over, well, it's not in the charter, it's simply there.
So on that note, you just mentioned about that it takes a majority of the commission. Like, where do I go back to refer for that, or do I have to always go back to the council to give me that information? I was just curious because you mentioned that it takes a majority. So
it takes, under here, it takes a, under the existing charter, what you're discussing is it takes 7 members to have a quorum, and it takes a majority to approve an action.
Okay.
So a condemnation is a normal action of the commission.
Gotcha.
Where you get into it is that sometimes there are political issues related to that particular condemnation.
Is that something that you think we need to spell out here or no? Okay, all right,
I think it's the will of this body. Either direction is fine. I think it's just nice to have it in the charter, some capacity.
Thank you, Attorney Plunkin. Coach Bryant.
Madam Chair, if I almost,
Yes.
if I may, as to Dr. Robinson, or Dr. Sheffy Robinson, I apologize. I see your first name first, so that I apologize. You asked if this had to be done as an agenda item. I think that you could, at the end of the day, at the end of this discussion, direct the Institute to incorporate these terms of this. Mr. Facer said, this will come back to you for final approval. So I think today's motion would be directing them to adopt similar language, or, as far as to 2.16, or pick up the language from the old charter.
Thank you, Mr. Plunkett. Coach Bryant.
Well, based on the fact that the recommendations are coming from the Institute, who's our consultant, and I see no reason why all of these elements that we haven't clarified yet can't be brought back to us for a vote. And so I'm in favor, or I would make a motion for us to accept the elements not yet voted on and need clarification, but if they're not voted on, but we'd like for you to provide us the final draft of what we need. And then I think you will have adequate discussion, because it's formally what we're saying we're going to do. Okay? And so if that's it, if this needs a motion for you to do that, and that's what I'm asking Mr. Plunkett or Councilor Brill.
I believe that you could go through the entire discussion of this memo and then come back with a motion at that time. Or you can do it each item by item. It's really the preference of your body and expeditiousness.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
If I may, however, if there's not unanimity as to each of the items, then you're going to need to do a separate motion for each item.
Thank you. Mr. France.
Just observing, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Lewis. You were going to make
Go
a
ahead, you already
comment
tried to.
early, I think.
Go ahead.
Just observing what's going on. I think we need to do it item by item because we have a discussion on each. So I don't think we need to act upon it.
That acceptable to everybody? All right, very good. Mr. France?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Facer, I guess one question I would have, this itemized list that you provide here, is that this list specific to Augusta, Richmond County, that you provided? Is this the list all-inclusive?
Yeah, this list would not be unique to Augusta. This would be a general public purpose list that would be used in local governments.
Okay, so the way it's spelled out, though, in the previous charter is by what's covered under state law.
Yeah, in a very general way, yes.
Right.
It
So
simply said for any public purpose.
Right. So the only reason I asked that question, by it being itemized like an itemized list, it would give the commissioners the opportunity to know exactly what they have the power to actually execute whatever they need to do. So as far as I'm concerned, the recommendation from Carl Vinson, I think it's something that we should take up as a motion to move forward.
It would give you some boundaries, if you will.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson.
I want to clarify with you, Dr. Facer, what this is the final language, correct?
This would be language to be used in the charter document, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make that clear for the body, because I don't think, like, it was requested to come back with language, but I think this is the language. So we have to decide whether we're going to use this language, some version of it, or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. Ms. Backus?
I just had a follow-up question. When state law is governing something and it is in our charter as well, doesn't it normally notate in there what state law is applicable?
I'm going to defer to Ms. Brill.
You mean which statute it is?
Yes.
We can put that in if you want.
So I'm still a little, I don't understand. Just from what you've said throughout this process, I would be hesitant to put something in here when state law is going to trump it anyways and it already covers it. Is it not possible to just put something in here that says, as in accordance with this ordinance or law, eminent domain exists, blah, blah, blah?
Yeah, it's actually in the Constitution, but yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying before, is we can do it. This is the standard way to do it, and that's why I put it in there, but we don't have to do it this way. We can do it whatever the will of the body is. I can do it that way, I can do it this way, or another way that you choose, and I'm more than happy to do it. Does that answer your question?
It does, but I'm just confused as to why in some cases we keep the stuff out of the charter that is covered by state law, but in this case we don't.
I think that Attorney Plunkett explained it in a very good way when he described how we put in the civil court, even though it's local legislation, how he likened it to that. That's the best explanation.
But if we put it in like this and state law changes, then the charter would have to be changed again.
No, because this is expounding on, it says even here that it's established under general law applicable now or is provided in the future. So it accounts for that, A. And also this expounds to set forth what those public purposes are that they're talking about.
Okay, thank you.
If that answers your question.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I would add that the one thing that makes eminent domain a little bit different from some of the other issues is because it is a takings feature where the government is depriving people of an asset. And so that's one of the reasons to highlight it, is that it is an extraordinary governmental action. And so pointing that out to make sure that it's clear, even though it is, you're right, it's in the Constitution. This is one of those cases where we're like, we do occasionally want to double emphasize things, but most of the time, that simple existence in the code is more than sufficient.
Because you are taking your private property, and obviously, like when it's eminent domain, they have to offer fair market value for the property. There's a whole process. So, and it's, I wouldn't say touchy, but it is a taking, and it's something that is, is it with the public?
Delicate.
Delicate, thank you
Yeah,
very
I
much.
mean,
A very delicate topic.
It is an issue that
But it is
local
a power
governments
you have.
prefer not to utilize except
Mm.
Absolutely
Absolutely necessary.
absolutely necessary.
I think it might be helpful if we're using it for that intended purpose that the public knows, like, hey, we are able to do this if we have the state law, constitution, whatever that is, notated in there, so that they know that it's not just something Richmond County decided that they wanted to do on their own.
So what I can do is I can put in pursuant to the Georgia Constitution, general law, or general law now, put it right before general law.
That would be good.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah, I can do that for you.
All right.
If that's what you vote on, I'd be more than happy to do it.
Thank you. Mr. Palmer.
My experience has been that when you are referencing state law, that sort of thing, that you just cite OCG. You just put in the code section, and for further clarification, they can pull up through the Georgia General Assembly the actual language so that they will get a better understanding. So I guess my statement is, wouldn't it be easier just to cite OCGA, whatever the section is, and then they can go to that particular section and read it for themselves?
Oh, they can read the constitutional provision for themselves. The only reason, like we said, that we were enumerating all these different areas was because of how delicate the topic is, so people will be aware of the sort of things that eminent domain can be used for. That's the only reason.
So, but again, if it's the will of the body to include that, an explicit reference
Make
to
it,
that
yeah.
constitutional provision,
Or if you want to make it more general.
We can do that.
And you just say, hereby empowered to acquire, or whatever it is, however we phrase it, pursuant to the Georgia Constitution or general law applicable now, or is that, we can do a more general statement if you would like.
And I think that's great. That's quite wordy. But what I'm getting at is if we just put in there OCGA, let's say 40-5-60, which is a traffic code, if that's where they would get the actual verbiage from the Georgia General Assembly, they would just go to OCGA 40-5-20 and look it up for themselves, instead of all of the legalese
Well, we can
verbiages.
certainly do that. Like I said, it's the will of the body, whatever, whether we do it just generally like that or we do it as this, that's your decision. And I'm perfectly fine with whatever it is you so choose to do.
Coach Bryant?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the section 2.1.
Second.
Mr. Bryant?
As written.
Motioned and Mr. France seconded.
Is the motion to accept it as written?
Yes, it's accepted as written, and then we can have discussion and see if there's a substitute motion.
Okay. Dr. Robinson?
I would like to make a substitute motion that we proceed with section 2-16 and list the Georgia legislative information instead, and just list the tracking link per Mr. Palmer.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second.
Mr. Palmer, for Dr. Robinson and Mr. Palmer on a second substitute motion. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair,
Sir?
if I may, for helping Dr. Robinson, would the language be okay to say that the commission is hereby empowered to exercise the power of eminent domain for any public purpose as provided under the constitutional and general laws applicable now or hereinafter provided?
Absolutely perfect.
That's tracking the language that is in the charter, excluding the municipality language, but just so that we have a motion on the floor that we understand what we're approving.
Correct. So that the beginning piece of that works perfectly, and then referencing the OCGA, where that is located in the Georgia legislature.
Mr. Palmer, is that acceptable to you?
Yes, it is.
Okay, very good.
So I have a question for Attorney Plunkett, if I may.
Of course.
So if we listed cite and verse of state law in our charter. If the state law were to be changed, how does that apply to our charter after the fact? If we listed case and verse?
So one of the potential issues is that if the Constitution expands the scope, you may be restricted by what's listed. I'm not entirely sure that would be accurate, but that would be one thing to consider. If the Constitution narrowed the scope, you would be bound by what the Constitution said.
So am I correct in assuming that the eminent domain, section 2.16, as written, is a safer way for this body to go?
I don't think safe or better or something like that is really an issue. I think it's more of an explanatory issue so that people can think about what these things are without having to go to a second source. But, of all the changes you're making in the charter, the current section 1.6 has worked quite well. We've never had a problem with someone debating that. And so just modifying that would certainly work. And you get your breadth and your narrowness goes up and down as the law allows. So in that regard, I think it's fine to probably follow the old 1.6 would be very easy to do.
And I do want to point out to your question that it does take into account by staying established under general law applicable now or is provided in the future. So if there was a change, that kind of covers it. And that's not to say you should vote one way or the other. I would just wanted to answer the question that you asked.
Thank you. Mr. France?
Really up to y'all.
Madam Chair, thank you again. I think we can kindly, based on what Dr. Vasa just said, and you said that last statement, I think that's going to be the key. It's nothing wrong with keeping this in, itemizing the list to show what is there. If you wanted to add that Georgia state law at the bottom as a provision to show what supports this language, it's nothing wrong with that. But just this work, it's great work. We shouldn't disregard it and just point to a state law where somebody else has got to go to the state law and look at the state law to see the same thing that we have written here. So putting that state law at the end supports what is actually covered as far as Augusta is concerned. And both can be right, okay? Both can be right. So let's look at it in that vein, and maybe we can move on. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Robinson.
To my knowledge, the state law doesn't list it out like this at all. So to be listed out like this would be not necessarily unique to us because, as it has been stated, other charters do it this way. I have no problem with amending my motion to as a substitute where we use the same language and include the provision if that makes people happy. But the state law doesn't list it out like this either. So
it is actually, you are correct, but what it is the public purposes have been established through case law. Yeah, so these are the ones that's why it's in there.
Okay, well then I'll amend my substitute motion that we accept the section 2.16 language as listed, but add the reference to the state law that it pertains to for additional clarity.
Madam Chair, just real quick, I don't, well, y'all done already second the motion.
Hang on one second. Mr. Palmer has to accept. Will you accept that?
Yes, I'm seconding her motion.
Right. That's good. Now, Mr. Gaines.
Well, I just was saying, I was going to mention that typically our code or the ordinance or whatnot sometimes is not, I don't know, user-friendly is the correct word to say. And me reading what they wrote here on this paper does come off as easily understandable about what actually you can do. So I don't know. That's just my thoughts on it. I'll yield back.
Very good. Dr. Robinson, you still in the queue? No? Okay. If there are no other comments, let us vote on the motion to accept as listed 2.16 with the additional verbiage. And let's go ahead and cast our votes.
Madam Chair, for clarity, this is the substitute motion.
The substitute motion first.
And just to clarify, you would like me to, when I reference the Constitution, to say Article 9, paragraph, Section 2, paragraph 5, like to that extent? Okay, great. That's what I thought.
Ms. Wilhelmy?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson? This motion is unanimous. Approved.
Thank you, ma'am. Let us move on to section 2-19, rules of
As you can tell,
procedure.
we chose the hardest one first, so.
Good. Excellent.
So 219 is the rules of procedure. The commission shall adopt rules of procedure in order of business.
Okay. Does anybody have any comment on that? All right, Ms. Backus.
I would just ask if Ms. Brill could tell us what it currently says, what's the difference, if it's already in there, if it's not.
Yeah, we're gonna look it up right now. Is there another question we can answer while we're looking up if anyone else has any other questions? Okay. If you'll
Mr.
hold on
Fouché,
a
you
second.
have your light on?
Make a motion to go ahead and accept it as written.
Okay.
I was going to wait on conversation if there is any.
Well,
So finding this is, as you all have seen, as you have wound your way through the existing charter, not everything is in a nice, orderly fashion, so I apologize for taking a few minutes, so.
Madam Chair, if I may, I believe it's section 1-2-13, and the charter goes into some detail as to meeting dates and things of that nature. And then it gets into things of this nature. Currently, the commission has adopted, the last version was in 2022, they have rules of procedure. In fact, y'all's rules of procedure somewhat mirrored that. And so what they do is that if they have the need to adopt something that they had not thought of previously, they have the ability to move it without having it in the charter. But I know the meetings, for instance, and quorums are listed in this actual rules. Some of the procedures are actually in your charter currently under that section.
Oh, I understand that. I just, like with the first one that we just discussed, it's helpful, at least I think it's helpful to know just this one section, Rules of Procedure 2.19, what it currently says, so we know what we're changing and why.
Any chance, do you have your red book today?
I do not.
Okay, I don't have that. But if, Mr. Gaines, if you could turn to section 1 dash, unless Ms. Brill is thinking I'm in the wrong section.
Is that an ordinance or is that in, I don't.
Is that ordinance? I'm sorry, I may be, I apologize. I just did a search. That may be our ordinances. I apologize, I'm wrong. So I have that happen on occasion. I just was looking at I was just trying to find something in our section that says this issue.
And what did you said that was again 1 dash?
It appears that it is not currently articulated in the charter. And so this would be one of the additional things that says, just as a matter of course, the commission shall have procedures.
Okay, thank you.
And it is in the ordinances, not the charter, and he is correct. It's 1-2-13 rules of procedure, but that's more of detail. This is just general that they have to do it.
Thank you. Mr.
That
Fouché.
answers your question. Okay.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion that we accept Section 2.19 Rules of Procedure. The Commission shall adopt its rules of procedure and order of business consistent with the provisions of this charter and shall provide for keeping a journal of its proceedings, which shall be a public record.
Second.
Thank you both. All right, so that's Mr. Fouché making the motion, Mr. Gaines seconding it. Is there any further discussion? If not, let's call it, cast our votes. Somebody's vote not go through. Who's number 8?
Mr. Frank.
Robert, apparently your vote did not connect again. Got it.
Ms. Wilhelmy.
Yes.
Mr. Pearson. This motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Facer, section 2.21.
Yeah, 2.21 and then 2.22 are kind of sister provisions, if you will. 2-21, it says that in order for an ordinance to occur, it has to be done in writing, and as it would be for final adoption, and it has to be consistent with the subject that it says it's talking about. So again, in the ordinances, but not currently. And so this would be one of those things. This is a simple, it would be an addition to the charter, clarifying what the expectations are for how an ordinance should be written.
Okay. Any
Also,
discussion?
It clarifies that, like he said, that you can't put a subject,
So you
it can't
say,
contain a subject where it has to be in the title.
yeah,
That's
so you
true
can't
of
say
legislative
it's
stuff.
about horse racing and then it be something about, chickens.
That's right. Any comments, any questions? Mr. Lewis?
No, I was going to make a motion.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the two sections, 2.21, ordinance form and procedure, and section 2.22, action requiring ordinance.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Gaines? All right, any additional conversation, questions? Ms. Backus?
Again, Ms. Brill, I just want to clarify, there's no significant changes as to what we already have in the charter to this right here.
This isn't in the charter, and it's
Okay.
better suited for this sort of thing is better suited for the charter to be in the charter. Yeah.
All right, with no other questions, let us cast our votes.
Mrs. Wilhelmy.
Yes?
Mr. Pearson.
Yes.
This motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, Dr. Facer, section 2.24.
Yes, 2.24 is about the clerk's role and the authentication of ordinances that are adopted by the commission and having them available to the public.
Are there any questions on this count?
Were you going to ask the same question?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. No, it is not in the charter. It is, it's similar to, where was it? The rules of procedure. It's in the same appendix as the rules of procedure, and it's similar to that. But this, as I said, is better suited for the charter to put this particular language in there to direct the clerk on, and so that the commission knows how it needs to be done.
Okay, are there any other questions? If not, let's cast our votes to accept.
Madam Chair.
I make a motion.
Accept. All right, I thought we.
That's second.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, we need to
Powell
clarify.
in a second. Who was seconding Mr. Powell's motion?
Madam Chair, the attorney has.
We also need to either verify that the language on the screen for the maker of the motion that's accurate, or it can be read into the record one way or the other. But we need to have this for the record. And if that, just for clarity, why don't I do this? The motion is to have the clerk shall authenticate by the clerk's signature and record in full in a properly indexed book kept for that purpose all ordinances adopted by the commission. That is section A. And section B, the commission shall provide for the preparation of a general codification of all the ordinances of the consolidated government having the force and effect of law. The general codification will be adopted by the commission by ordinance and shall be published promptly, together with all amendments thereto and such other rules and regulations as the commission may specify. This compilation shall be known and cited officially as the Code of Augusta, Georgia. Copies of the code shall be furnished to all officials, officers, departments, and agencies of the consolidated government and made available for purchase by the public at a reasonable price as fixed by the commission.
Thank you. Mr. Palmer, did you have a comment?
No, I was just simply seconding the motion.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any other questions? If not, I'm sorry, Ms. Backus.
Madam Chair, if you could just clarify, because I know Ms. Robinson had seconded, he had seconded, who's going on record as seconding?
Okay, so I have Mr. Palmer. Lee made the motion, Mr. Palmer seconded. Okay, thank you. All right, if not, if we have no further questions, let's cast our votes.
Mrs. Wilhelmy? Yes. Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
This motion carries unanimously.
Thank you all. And thank you, Carl Vinson. Did you have more that you wanted to cover?
Yes. Yeah.
Excellent.
We have 4 more that we need clarification on.
Excellent.
And so the next one, this is on page 4 of your memo, is section 2.17, organizational meetings. This is one that you had previously discussed, but what we did not get clarification on is who should call the meeting to order. It currently says the mayor-elect or the clerk, and we need to know which of those is your preference for calling the organizing meeting to order.
Okay, Mr. Guilfoyle. Mr. Guilfoyle, Mr.
Madam Chair, excuse me, I'm sorry. I'd like to make a motion that section 2.17 be read as follows. The commission shall hold an organizational meeting at the first meeting in January. The meeting shall be called to order by the mayor, and the oath of office shall be administered to the newly elected members by a judicial officer authorized to administer oaths, and shall, to the extent that it comports with federal and state law, be as follows.
Madam Chair, I second.
Mr. Lewis. So Mr. Fouché and Mr. Lewis. Do we have any discussion? Dr. Robinson.
So technically, if the mayor is being elected, if that is the mayor's first meeting, they technically may not have taken oath of office yet. Am I correct in that, Ms. Prill?
They could, they might have taken an oath of office before the meeting, or
Right.
there might be instances, but you can make sure that they take the oath of office before the meeting.
Okay,
Or you
so
could have the clerk do it, either one.
right. So that's why I'm leaning to the clerk, because the clerk isn't going to start as an elected official on that first meeting, but a mayor potentially could. But before I make a substitute motion for that, we'll continue with the conversation.
Okay. Ms. Backus?
What is the current practice?
Pardon?
What is the current practice?
Defer to council for that.
My recollection has always been the mayor that calls it to order. I'm not familiar with the mayor being sworn in after the meeting starts because they would not be able to participate in that meeting. So they typically would have already been sworn in. And so the only issue would be is that, not to make it more difficult than it is, you probably could do the mayor-elect, the mayor or mayor-elect, or in the absence, the clerk. So for instance, if the mayor-elect was ill that day, obviously if the mayor is in the middle of his term or her term, you have that issue going on that they would call it to order already. But you could say that, or in the absence, the clerk, because it would not necessarily be a mayor pro tem. But practice is it's the mayor that calls it to order.
I have one more question, and maybe so we don't have a new mayor every January, but this says mayor-elect, which sounds like we have a new mayor every January. So as common practice, when we don't have a mayor-elect, the mayor would be the one to call the meeting to order.
And that's why he said, that's why he said it, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
because that kind of threw me off a little bit. All right, thank you.
Yeah, I apologize.
Mr. France?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So let me, just to be clear, we're talking about the oath of office to any newly elected official that would take the oath in January. So my question to that point, what happens if we have a special election where we have someone newly elected that's maybe completing someone's term or something like that? What's the provision for that?
This is the January meeting.
This is to call the first meeting of the year.
Right, so that's what I was asking, getting to. This only pertains to the first meeting of the year, only.
The first meeting.
Okay.
But generally, Mr.
Called
France.
the organizational meeting.
Right.
But generally, Mr. France, is that the person, if our meeting starts at 2:00, generally the judicial officer swears the person in somewhere between like 1 and 1:30 so that they have been sworn in and can take action immediately. So it almost always precedes the meeting.
Beginning of the meeting.
Prior to the beginning of the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Like
Thank you,
you
Mike.
said, so that at the meeting, they're going to want them to have already taken the oath so they can take action and vote on things in the meeting. And this way, if you, like you said, if you do the oath ahead of time, which everybody usually does, you don't have to worry about who's going to call the meeting as well.
Thank you. There being no further comments in the queue, please cast your votes on
What are we
the
voting on?
motion to accept section 2.17 with the selection for the mayor-elect as the person, the mayor.
Mayor.
It would just say mayor.
Just say mayor.
Okay, yeah, that's.
Yeah, we can do that.
Just for clarity of the maker of the motion, it is to be called by the mayor in the oath, just for the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Please cast our votes.
Mrs. Wilhelmy.
Yes?
Mr. Pearson. This motion carries unanimously.
Two dot 25. So the question is, we just wanted to clarify whether or not the mayor can be one of the 6 votes, since the mayor is proposing the 3 candidates. And then it says 6 members of the commission. Oh, sorry. So we just want to make it sure we're clear that the 6 members of the commission, whether or not that would include the mayor as a possible vote.
Okay. Mr. Fouché.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. I think we've established on more than one occasion that the mayor is a member of the commission.
Right. I think that his question is, if the mayor is putting forth 3 people, do you want him to be able to also be one of the 6 that approves it? Or do you want it to be 6 commissioners?
I think the mayor is one of the commissioners, and his vote is his vote.
Right. He's technically part of the commission, but he's not a commissioner, and that's where the distinction came in.
We've established that on more than one occasion, that the mayor has a vote equal to that of the commission.
Right. And
So we're saying the same thing.
So what I'm hearing you say is that the assumption is that the mayor would be counted as one of the 6 here.
Yes, sir.
Because he's a member of the commission.
Yes, sir. That's what I'm suggesting.
okay, thank you.
Ms. Robinson, Dr. Robinson?
She just
Stepped away.
Oop.
So I think that was our base understanding. We just wanted to make sure that we weren't
Assuming
making
anything.
an assumption that
Yeah.
wasn't consistent.
Okay, let's go to Ms. Backus, and we'll come back to Dr. Robinson as soon as she returns.
I just want to clarify, why does it say consolidated government manager rather than city manager?
Because you're not a city. You're a consolidated government. That's different than a city.
So the term of art used throughout the charter is going to be the consolidated government. So it won't be referred to as a city, it won't be referred to as a county. It'll be referred to as a consolidated government.
Because the consolidated government is Richmond County and Augusta.
I thought in previous conversations that it was determined that we are not Augusta, Richmond County, we are just Augusta.
You are just Augusta because that is how it was. The legislature has put a provision in local legislation that says it will be referred to as Augusta, Georgia. That doesn't mean that it's just the city. It just means that's the name of the consolidated government.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a slightly confusing nuance.
So the problem is, as we're going through this process, and I'm like, okay, we're Augusta. Like, I'm like, it's not Augusta, Richmond County. And then, like, you're throwing me for a loop here. So that's why it.
So it is still, it will still be known as Augusta, Georgia, but under the Consolidation Act, Augusta, Georgia is the former city of Augusta and Richmond County. And so when we refer to it here, we either would say the Augusta manager or the consolidated government manager.
The Augusta, Georgia manager, we would have to say.
Okay.
In most of our legal documents, we will always refer to it as a consolidated government, and it would be preferable to have in here the consolidated government. To add more opaqueness to it, it is Augusta surrendered its charter in the consolidation. HEPSPA and Blythe did not. So that also throws a little bit of things. But Augusta and Richmond County consolidated their governments. It was known as Augusta Richmond County, Georgia, for a period of time. And then that name was changed to Augusta, Georgia. And it is a consolidated government that has the powers of both a city and a municipality and a county, but has a municipal form of government. And that last part has to do with liability. So it's like a long sentence, and
It's a lot of legal stuff.
Most people understand cities and they understand counties. And so we think of and so that's why most people refer to it as a city of Augusta, but it is in fact a consolidated government. I think y'all had that presentation, there's only 8 in the state, which throws us off a little bit.
And this is just out of curiosity for moving forward. We currently have a city administrator, so are those terms kind of interchangeable where it's still accurate to refer?
Currently, we have an administrator. She's not a city administrator, she's not a county administrator, she is our administrator. And so you're now going, if this is passed, you're going from an administrator to a manager form of government, but people typically like to define manager because oftentimes it's like you own a business, but you have a manager. And so we're trying to designate the then manager of the consolidated government as opposed to a department manager. So that's why we're trying to delineate the title in that regard.
So, and I think the common vernacular short term of city manager has often been used, and I think that's where part of the confusion may come in. And so that is a simple kind of usage just to make it easy to communicate with people, where this has to be the technical legal language. If hopefully that helps.
I was just imagining a name tag with all of that on there. That's all. So I just wanted to make sure it was not incorrect.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we're more than happy to answer your questions. Unfortunately, sometimes it's going to be a very legal type answer, but we're more than happy to answer it.
Thank all of you. Mr. Gaines, can I ask your blessing while you're asking your question to go find out where Dr. Robinson is?
Madam Chair, just in reference to the question that Ms. Backus just asked, because that was also my question as well. So in reference to this being the consolidated government manager, now when all of this is all said and done, and if the constituents go ahead and approve this, does the title change to city manager, or is it just manager is what the title is? It'll be just manager?
Would essentially just be manager.
Okay. And then the other question is this typical of other consolidated governments? Their charter says consolidated government manager or consolidated government, period. Okay.
Thank you for that clarification. Dr. Robinson is tied up and is unable to come back. I think she is perfectly fine with us proceeding with a vote.
Madam Chair, we must do a motion first.
Okay.
No. We have let me make a motion.
Please.
I move that section 2.25 consolidated government manager appointment qualification compensations. Consolidated government manager shall be appointed by a majority vote of the commission from a list of not more than 3 candidates provided to the commission by the mayor. The manager shall report directly to the commission. Appointment shall require an affirmative vote of 6 members of the commission. The manager should be appointed solely on the basis of executive and administrative qualification. The minimal qualification for a manager shall be A, a master's degree in public administration, public affairs, or business. B, 4 years of experience in appointed managerial administrative position in local government. And C, hold or obtain accreditation from a nationally recognized credentializing body within 6 months of appointment.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. So Mr. Lewis and Mr. Gaines,
I have a suggestion, Madam Chair.
please.
Mr. Lewis, I like your motion. I'm wondering if you would be agreeable to changing the sentence, appointment shall require an affirmative vote of 6 members of the commission to include the mayor.
This is linked.
I think it already includes the mayor since we established that he has a vote.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. Okay, Mr. France.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I think they asked some question just to be clear. So the mayor is included in the 6 votes. We are establishing that the mayor is one of those 6. Could be one of those 6.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Coach Bryant.
Just for clarification, and it's just in A, it says a master's degree in public administration, public affairs, or business. In this day and time, would any other master degrees be appropriate? I don't know if it's a master's degree in public administration, public affairs, business, or
I will defer to counsel, but my assumption is that those terms would be interpreted reasonably broadly, because you could have things like city planning, You could have, somebody with a degree in political science that has been a manager. But I would defer to counsel. These are the common degrees that are listed as a course of action.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Plunkett?
My suggestion is that if you want to have language that says or similar, something along similar lines, you have it in there, because if you get into a debate over two candidates, and while we could interpret it, if we had one candidate that everybody wanted, we could all interpret it as we needed to. But if you have a debate over two candidates and they have a master's in, public organizations, something like that, and it's the exact same thing, but their title says something else, and you're going to get into a debate over form over substance. So I think that if you want to broaden it, you need to have or similar, or some. I think that Carl Vinson would be better at coming at the wordsmith, but basically of similar educational background, that we would need to do a master's with similar subject matter expertise or learning, so that you could get that in there. But otherwise, I think in a fight, it will be there.
So we could add language like or other relevant degrees.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I would accept that if you're going to add that as part of the motion.
All right, Mr. Gaines, are you in agreement with them?
That's fine.
All right, very good. So what we're voting on is section,
No, ma'am. I'm so.
okay, I didn't see you in there, I'm sorry.
So just a suggestion, and just want to get your feedback. Why are we not just putting a master's degree and then allowing the actual job description when it goes out to detail that more? Because they also still have to have the accreditation from a nationally recognized credentialing body. So that kind of, would a master's degree not, because what is similar? I mean, especially in the legal realm, that kind of leaves it pretty broad. But don't we just want a master's level education? Because
I would not disparage the degree in any way, but if someone came in and said they had a master's in early childhood education, they would qualify on that educational requirement. And so by having public policy, public affairs, business, you're kind of pushing it toward, signaling is a good word, the type of degree that's your expectation. That's not to say that someone could have a master's in early childhood education, have gone into the business and have all that skill set. It's just whether or not you think the degree in that field is necessary.
I think, though, what I'm thinking of is when we were discussing this in our workshops and stuff, one of the things that we were told is to keep it kind of vague and then allow for the actual job description that goes out from procurement to make it more specialized. So if the goal is to make sure that somebody has a master's degree, because what if they come up with, my daughter's got a business risk management. That wasn't always a degree. You know what I mean? So
how would it be more suitable to say a master's degree in the field of, public administration, public affairs, or business may be closer? I understand your point. Ms.
I'm just
Brill and I
thinking it
talked
would
early
solve
on.
the concerns up here about what, you know what I mean? If it just says master's degree and then the actual job description that is approved by the commission and put out to potential people that want to apply, then.
I don't disagree in any way. Ms. Brill and I talked about that. You would think that a person that is, president of a university would have a degree in education, but the University of Georgia has a degree in law. So, our president in that regard. So sometimes skill sets exceed the educational issues. But that's the will of the body. I'm just saying that you could say in the fields of, if that's what you would like to expand it to, or signal in that regard.
So, but again, this is very common language used and part of it is really helping the signaling to say, you want somebody who understands the context of governmental operations as opposed to other spaces.
And like Mr. Plunkett said, we can put it in so it is not, this is not an exhaustive list, but it signals that it should be, they should have some sort of background in this.
Mr. France.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only thing I was going to add, and I think Carl Fiston's already kind of established it. If you wanted to add something for our master's degree in organizational management, it would be consistent with what we're trying to do, the goal we're trying to get to here, just to make sure that the applicants that apply for this particular job are capable of running the city. They have that skill set. Organizational management, administration. Person that runs a daycare wouldn't probably be the, nothing to do with people that's running the daycare, but but anyway, organizational management, if I wanted to put something else additional in there, as far as a master's degree.
Dr. Robinson?
So organizational management falls under business, so that's already covered. A lot of the degrees you guys are probably referencing mostly fall under business. I agree with Attorney Plunkett on this. Like even our president, Georgia Southern, he has a degree in art, and he's president of the college, and has grown our university 2x over his time period. So it really will fall into the 4 years of the experience, and then of course their overall jacket, I think. I had something I was about to say, but I think by the time you guys got to me, I done forgot it. I know what it's about. I agree with not generalizing this as just master's degrees, because we also have to account for diploma mills and things of that nature. So making sure we're succinct in this signaling, I think, is very important, because our commissioners are not professionals in how to run a city. So relying on them to choose which master's degree is pertinent is not be a good job, but a good idea. So I think we keep it like that, and then add, I definitely agree with the adding or relevant degrees, because of course degrees are becoming more specialized, like organizational management is a very specialized business degree. So I agree with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fouché.
I think this motion is perfectly worded. I think people might be losing sight that there are sections B and C that also address possible qualifications for candidates that would take these positions. So I move that we move forward with the vote on this, and that it's perfectly worded as is.
Thank you. Mr. France.
Second.
Well, there's a motion on the floor from Mr. Lewis and Mr. Gaines. There being no further conversation in the queue, let's go ahead and cast our votes.
Is the motion as stated?
For the original motion. Okay.
Can you clarify, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, we're going with the reading that I read, that you presented. We're in a total agreement. Now we're going to vote on it.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Please cast your votes.
Ms. Wilhelmy.
Yes.
Mr. Pearson. This motion carries unanimously.
So we have a quick request for a bathroom break. Let us just take several minutes, and that will take care of that. Thank you.
economy, no, it shouldn't happen.
Thanks, Brent.
I'm gonna ask that question too, by the way.
I wrote Reggie about the website this morning already. So while we're waiting, I just wanted to let you know the City of Augusta website has undergone quite a facelift. And I recommend that everybody go take a look at it because it's much more user-friendly, intuitive, easy to find things, brighter. Everything about it is nice, so.
Madam Chair, that would be the Consolidated Government of Augusta's website.
That's correct. That's correct. That is absolutely correct. Thank you for that correction. Eric, you want to say something?
Yeah, just had a quick question. In reference to, I know we just voted on this 2.24, where it says down here, it says copies of code shall be furnished to all officials, officers, departments, and agencies of consolidated government and made available for purchase. Now, are we saying that we're going to be charging? Is this, I'm assuming this is just for if they're having to print out the actual code. This isn't like if it's a PDF copy or anything like that.
I think it's if they're a request for a hard copy, I would think.
Right.
And that's, I think that's current practice as it is now too.
Yep.
Okay, so let's see, Mr. France, no, not Mr. France, Mr. Gaines and Ms. Spackos both have their lights on. Did you have a comment?
I did, and I was thinking about it, and I wanted to get clarification from Attorney Plunkett. If we're voting on making any changes to things that we've already voted on, clarification versus changes is what I'm saying. I don't believe that there was proper notice given for changes to be made versus clarification.
Ms. Bacchus, at the end of the day, this issue what we're looking at is clarification issues. You're not voting on actual final language. You're authorizing Carl Vinson to make the edits to the documents, and you'll come back for final approval. And if there was something, an it or an a or a thing like that, and y'all came back and said you'd make essentially a motion to approve with such a change when you get the language back. But I think this is all intended to be clarification of things that y'all have previously discussed, and in their drafting, they just want to make sure they're not misstating what y'all have approved.
You don't want to misstate your intent.
Yeah, no, and I just want to make sure that we're aware of that too, because proper notice has not been given to the community in order for us to make changes versus clarifying. So those are two very different things. So like on the last section we just covered, if I said, actually, I don't think the mayor should be able to put forth 3 candidates. That would be a change to what we originally voted on, and we need to make sure that we're staying within our scope of this meeting today and only addressing the issues that are being clarified, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
No, because we've been all over. We've all been all over. We need to stick to the issues being clarified because that's the only thing that was given proper notice for this meeting.
Dr. Robinson.
In the memo, it states that we will vote at the next meeting on these issues, so everything is clarification. So notice these are part of this. So I think we're getting in the weeds on things, because I think just because we've discussed something doesn't mean we're voting on it or that we're voting to change anything. But discussion need to be required to clarify what we were thinking in that moment. So it's setting a context so that we can proceed.
Thank you. Ms. Bacchus?
Just to clarify, I did see that in the memo too, where it says that we will be voting on it next meeting. I don't recall us agreeing to do that. Especially, I think it's a little premature since we haven't had our town hall meetings yet. So I think having that on there is premature. I just want to make sure us as committee members know that we do actually need to stick to only the clarification issues and not expand on that, because proper notice was not given according to rules and procedures.
Thank you.
The header reads issues for clarification.
All right. What's that?
The header reads issues for clarification.
Yep.
Yes, but I think all of us have participated in going beyond that scope, and so I think making sure that we stick to, okay, roll your eyes.
All right, Dr. Facer, how about section 5.13?
5.13, based on your conversation today, we think we understand that the term "its" here refers to the commission. Just,
Not the commissioner.
and not individual commissioners, but it's the commission's responsibilities regarding the attendance.
By acclamation, does everybody agree with that? Does anybody have any comments? All right, consider that approved.
You have to.
Okay.
That's
You
what
said
I
by
thought we
acclamation.
was going. You to make a motion?
We can make a motion if you'd like.
Oh,
The clerk has asked that you make a motion, so
Okay.
just for
All right.
the record.
Mr. Gaines, you want to make that motion?
I'd like to make a motion to accept section 5.13, meeting participation as written. Should I go ahead and read it? No? Okay.
I have a question for you, Mr. Gaines, if I
Can we get
may.
a second first so we can put this in play? Okay, Mr. Powell, Mr. Gaines and Mr. Powell, thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Fouché.
I don't disagree with it as written, but I wonder if it has more teeth if we simply state the commission and leave committee out. In other words, attendance at commission meetings by the commission is necessary by the effective operation of the consolidated
But
government.
don't the commissioners chair their own separate committees as well? I don't know if that's what it's making reference
It's a
to.
question.
For the first 2 of the 3 decades we've been a consolidated government, the way it worked was you had individual committees. And those committees met, 4 of them, made their decisions, brought them to the big body. And then about, I don't know, 8 or 10 years ago, that changed where they made everybody sit through everything. And I guess which seems kind of onerous. There has to be, it's kind of like when we commissioned various people on this committee to devise things. It was a leap of trust that they were going to do a really good job with it. And so I guess in practice, what happens in requiring all 11 to be at 7 hours of committee meetings every other week, you lose people along the way. And so that was the concern, was that if you keep the committee meetings in there, does that serve a purpose, or would it be smarter to just let them go back to the committee way of doing things? And that's really not ours to say, but it is ours to say whether we want to require all 11 to show up every other week. So am I restating that properly? Yeah, okay.
So my question for you, Mr. Gaines, is would you make that motion to include the commission, or do you feel it's important to retain the committees?
I mean, I'm amenable to the committees if that makes sense. I don't, what you just made a comment in reference to, I mean, it does make sense. But again, I don't know how the rest of this body feels in terms of that.
Well, we've got a motion and a second, so I guess we need to have a substitute motion if you'd like. But I don't dislike your motion. I'll vote for that if this body feels that the committee's presence is required. I don't have a problem with it.
Is there a substitute motion?
You want to make a substitute motion?
Sure. Madam Chair, I move that Section 5.13 read, attendance at commission meetings by the commission is necessary for the effective operation of the consolidated government. Members of the commission are expected to attend and remain present for the full duration of all commission meetings, period. The commission shall adopt a policy outlining its responsibilities regarding meetings attendance. Any breach of this policy shall be subject to the investigation in accordance with the procedures set forth in Section 2.15.
Okay, is there a second for the substitute motion?
Second.
Mr. Powell? So Fouché and Powell. So what we're voting on here on the substitute motion is to eliminate committee meetings, trying to induce perfect attendance at a commission meeting. All right, sir. So we've got Dr. Robinson first.
We have to be careful to not think about this in the lens of what the current government is doing so much as the government we want to see. There may come a time when the committee meetings and the commission meetings are split up again, and then we'd have no coverage for that. So I think committee should stay in the language. There's not the reasoning to remove it isn't significant enough to qualify that. So I think it should remain as is so that we allow the government that comes after this to do the work they need to do and still have the guardrails in place.
Okay. All right, then we have Mr. France.
Madam Chair, I apologize. I had to, I'm just apologizing to the whole committee. I had to jump up. I had an alert that my alarm was going off at my house, so that's the reason I had to go step out. I just apologize. Thank you.
Thank you, hon. Ms. Backus.
Mr. Plunkett, we, again, clarification versus changing things that we've already voted on.
We would be straying from the conversation.
I'm sorry?
We're starting to stray from clarification.
Yes. So when we're making changes, that's making a change to something we've already voted on that has to be properly noticed to the community, and it has not been. This is not clarification, this is making changes.
I don't know that that's the case, Ms. Backus, because is this not a carryover from the existing charter? That's why you're raising the question?
No, this is one of the issues that you had given us in new language to put in the charter.
Okay.
I'll withdraw the substitute motion.
We're just trying to get clarification on the word "it's."
Oh. All right.
I'll withdraw that substitute motion, Madam Chair.
Mr. Brandt? Original motion is what we will be casting a vote on. There are no further comments in the queue. So are we all clear? Mr. Gaines and Mr. Powell seconded a motion to accept 5-13 as is.
Ms. Wilhelmi, just out of an abundance of caution, since the substitute motion belongs to the body, it's going to be approved by without objection that it can be withdrawn.
I see. So we need to.
You don't have. If everybody, excuse me, if it's not without. Let me say it differently.
We have to get acclamation.
If there's no
on the
objection to
Okay.
withdrawal, then we can just move forward and then go back to the primary motion.
Very good. So is this body okay with allowing Mr. Fouché? Yes. Okay. By acclamation, it is withdrawn. All right. Let us now cast our votes for the original motion made by Mr. Gaines and Mr. Powell.
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
For clarity, it's in this section 513 refers to the commission.
To outlining commission responsibilities. Is that clear?
You are changing that word, or are you leaving it as it's? Which one?
It's referring to the commission.
It has been properly interpreted.
Okay.
Okay. Let us cast our votes. Mr. Palmer, yours didn't go through. Thank you.
Mrs. Wilhelmi.
Yes.
Mr. Pearson.
Yes.
This motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, we're on section number 5.19.
Yes, so 5.19, this is about the Board of Ethics and its membership. It currently says that no person shall serve as a member of the Board of Ethics who is currently serving as an elected official, is a candidate for office, etc. Our question is, does this refer to an elected official at any level of government or only an elected official of Augusta?
Okay, Dr. Robinson?
I think it's pertinent to be at any level, just to keep it clean, just because we know influence is what it is. So any level.
If that's the case, is there a motion we can put on the table?
I'd like to make a motion that we clarify section 5-19 eligibility to denote elected officials being an elected official at any level of government, including like Board of Education, all that good stuff.
Second.
Okay, who was the second? Okay, thank you. Do we have any discussion on this? No discussion? Let us call for the vote.
Right.
Madam Chair, can you restate who made the motion and who?
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Robinson made the motion and Mr. Palmer seconded it. Mr. Powell did, pardon me.
No, it was Mr. Palmer.
I thought it was Mr. Palmer.
He's a little taller than I am.
Mrs. Wilhelmy?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
This motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, Dr. Audits?
Yeah, so in audits, the question, in you can keep it as is if you would prefer, but the question came up in drafting, is E essentially redundant of A? So this is about the Audit Oversight Committee's responsibilities. A says the Audit Oversight Committee shall review the internal auditor's audit plan annually. And E says that, what?
It's basically saying the committee shall.
The committee shall provide suggestions and comments for the annual audit plan. So if that is the same thing, in your mind, we could strike E if that is the will of the body.
Dr. Robinson?
I think it should remain because one just says to review, the other gives them the power to actually make suggestions.
Okay, you want to put that in the form of a motion?
I motion that we clarify the audits issue in keeping letters A and E to further the work of the committee.
Okay, so we've got Dr. Robinson making the motion, Mr. Fouché seconding. Is there any conversation? Any other comments?
Ms. Brill, did you have a question for me?
No.
Okay.
All right, if not, let's cast our votes.
Mrs. Wilhelmy?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
This motion carries unanimously.
Thank you all. Moving to section 9.16, nonpartisan.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
only thing we did was just keep E in there. We didn't make a motion to accept audit.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Only thing we did was just make a motion to accept, leaving the E in there. We did not vote or make a motion to accept the audit report.
So, yeah, that had already been adopted previously.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. So moving on to section 9.16 has to do with nonpartisan. The position is nonpartisan, so the question is this redundant, and is it wiser just to take it out for clarity's sake? And if so, if we can have a motion to that effect? Okay, Dr. Robinson?
I motion that we remove the section section 9.16, nonpartisan in reference to the internal auditor, as it is not an elected position.
Okay, is there a second? Second. Mr. Powell? Any discussion? Let's cast our votes. We can remove it as being redundant. Robinson and Powell. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Mrs. Wilhelmy?
Yes?
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Thank you all. Moving on to section 9.18, the issue is a word substitution. I'm sorry, that's your job, I'm sorry.
The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Facer, did you have any?
So 9.18, this is compensation on the internal auditor. This is a simple word choice for simplicity's sake. It currently says proposed and a fund shall be proposed and approved. Alternatively, it could say funds shall be budgeted.
Very good. Mr. Powell?
In past history, they have taken it out of the budget, so I certainly would make the motion to pass this with budgeted to make sure that it is financed every year, the internal audit.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Powell and Mr. Gaines. Okay, there being no one in the queue, I presume there's no questions or comments. Let us cast our votes. To accept the language presented.
Madam Chair, if we can clarify that the motion is to have the language proposed and approved strucken from 9.18 and substitute the word budgeted in its stead.
I believe that is correct.
This is the previous one, excuse me. Mrs. Wilhelmy?
Yes?
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
This motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on to section 9.21 for powers and duties.
So this is, again, on the internal auditor section. We just needed clarification on item 3. So this is going through what the independent auditor can evaluate. And it starts with activities authorized by the charter, ordinance, state law, et cetera. And then it gets down to item 3 where it says the entity, programs, activities, functions. We are not clear what the entity refers to in this case. So I don't know that it adds any additional clarity and could be stricken, but if there's something we're missing, we'd be happy to get clarity from the committee.
Mr. Powell, pardon me, first Dr. Robinson, and then I'd like Mr. Powell to comment on that as well. Go ahead, Dr. Robinson.
The entity refers to all departments, offices, boards, activities, agencies, and programs. So because programs, activities, functions, and policies are in 3 as well, I do agree that it feels redundant. There potentially may need to be some wordsmithing there to clear that up because it's duplicating between activities and programs, but that's already included at the top. So essentially the entity should have meant programs and activities as well. So we probably need to do some wordsmithing there, but that was the intent of the entity. That whole sentence may need to be revised though.
Okay, we've got Mr. Powell.
Yeah, the entity may entail the entire government in one word, and adding the programs, activities, functions, or policies that are effective, so on and so forth. But I think the entity is the entire government and not just specifically what's stated afterwards. It is the entire government plus what is stated afterwards.
Thank you. Yep, Mr. Lewis.
I'm just asking a question about Augusta, Georgia. Should we leave that, or should we put down consolidated government in the first paragraph?
We do mention that sometimes it is referred to as Augusta, Georgia, or consolidated government, but they mean the same thing. And some places it's more appropriate to say consolidated government.
Okay, Mr. Fouché.
I understand your confusion. When I initially read it, I read it to mean the charter and its programs, activities, functions, and policies. But I do see your confusion on that, and I'm equally confused.
Mr. Plunkett.
Just since we're discussing clarity, I'm drawing a blank right now of any agencies that Augusta has specifically, but I do want to recognize that if it's an authority, that it doesn't, your internal auditor would not have the authority to conduct an audit of, say, the DDA or something like that. I don't think there's a problem with understanding and keeping agency, because that's kind of could refer to something that is internal, like a board that you may have that doesn't, but if it's an independent agency or authority that you appoint members to, does not give the authority to audit that board or that entity. I just want to make sure we're clarifying that understanding. I apologize, I probably should have pointed that out earlier when this came through, but sometimes when you start rereading stuff, you kind of come to that. But it does not want y'all to anticipate that you could say the development authority, we want to do an internal audit of your stuff. You don't have that authority.
Got it. Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. France.
Well, Madam Chair, just like Mr. Plunkett just said, I was drawn to that same attention when you say the entity is not included. If you talk about the entity being the entire government, it has the just well versed there. It's not the entire government, so we shouldn't pull reference to putting the entity in there or the entire government, because it doesn't apply to this particular statement, because they don't have the authorization to perform those audits.
Okay. Dr. Robinson.
2 things I would probably like to see from this is a rewording of 3, and I definitely would like to make sure we add authorities. We can't, can we?
Can't do it because that's covered by state law.
Those are separate entities that
Gotcha.
You may provide funding and appointments to, but they're still separate and distinct. There are some authorities that are part of your consolidated audit. For instance, the Urban Redevelopment Agency, I think you'd have the authority to do that because that's part of your consolidated, but if they're not part of your, think of if it's not part of the thing that you audit, in your annual audit, then you don't get to say, I'm going to go audit that separate entity.
So here's a question, and I know this has been brought up, and I'm discussing it because this will clarify, to me at least, what entity stands for. Financial and performance audits of all departments, blah, 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 of Augusta, Georgia. it doesn't state government at all. It just says of Augusta, Georgia. So how that reads technically is.
But there are, by definition, they're governmental entity. All of those, the departments, officers, boards, those are all governmental because they belong or under the umbrella of a governmental entity.
Right. That part I get, but I'm going to give you the context of why I bring this up. When it came to the NGOs, there were many people asking questions about if we're giving money to NGOs, why don't we have the power to audit them as well? So that's why I'm asking for clarity there, because somebody will try to use, I would think, somebody may try to use that language as well, it's in Augusta, Georgia, even though we know it's meant governmental, it doesn't read that way.
I can change it to consolidated government, but in this document, in the charter, it says referred to as Augusta, Georgia, because that's the name. And then after it says something to the effect, sometimes also referred to as consolidated government. So there's the same thing within this document. But if you want it to say consolidated government, I can, but I have no problems with that.
It's fine saying Augusta, Georgia, but it doesn't read like these are entities of the government of Augusta, Georgia. You see what I mean?
Okay, let me look at it.
Not just it's in Augusta, Georgia.
Ms. Robinson, I can maybe, Dr. Robinson, I may be able to give a little bit more clarity. Usually when there's an NGO involved and there's any funds that are being excluding a very, very few limited circumstances because of the size of the entity, they're required to have an audited financial statement and to provide that to the government. So, but you know, if you're given a grant of $1,000 and the nonprofit total budget is $20,000, maybe you waive that, but typically they have an audit involved. And so that kind of is your double check in that regard.
Perfect. I just wanted to clarify that language because it doesn't read as it's the government pieces of Augusta, Georgia, so much as it just says Augusta, Georgia. And while we understand that, somebody reading it may think, oh, well, it's in Augusta, Georgia, it should fall under the audit, the internal auditor. So just wanted to clarify that piece. Sorry, I cut my mic off while we're talking.
Madam Chair, from y'all's discussion, would it not be just as easy to quote the same language and have all departments, office, boards, activities, agencies, and programs, and just have that restated in number 3? It seems like that's what you're wanting to do, is that the entity in just, it's.
Or more broadly, just say the consolidated government of Augusta, Georgia.
Or all organizations under the consolidated government. I think you're trying to be encompassing, and the efficiency of entity works, but for clarity, I think you want to be able to say that there's all organizations or restate all those names. And I think that's what you're driving toward.
Yep. Carl Vinson, what say you on this?
Well, one, it's the will of the people, but I think if replacing the entity with all organizations under the consolidated government, I think that would clarify that, provide the clarification we're looking for.
How's that set, Dr. Robinson?
So I would like to make a motion that we accept section 9.21 with the changes to number 3 being all offices under the consolidated government of Augusta, Georgia are effective, including the identification of any causes of inefficiencies or uneconomical practices.
Second.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So,
Eric, second.
in keeping with Ms. Baco's concerns previously, our objective today, as I understand it, is to define what is entity, and that changes cannot be made in this document today. Am I correct in assuming that? Isn't the objective to define entity?
That's what we were seeking clarification on, yes.
So even though I agree that the changes need to be made, we can't make that change today, can we?
because what I suggested is the definition. The change piece is like changing the overall scope of the piece. What I presented is the clarification.
So you're defining entity.
Correct.
All offices under the consolidated government of Augusta, Georgia.
Would you still include, though, because I didn't hear it in your sentence, so I just want to verify for Scrivener's purposes, programs, activities, functions, or policies, too?
Programs and functions and activities should fall under that because it's already defined in the first section, but functions or policies should, agreed. All offices under the consolidated government of Augusta, Georgia, functions or policies are effective. I said offices.
Okay, I'm going to go to Coach.
I think this
Oh, gotcha.
to, what Dr. Robertson talked about, the entity and defining what the entity is. So define the entity as the consolidated government and all offices that fall under that. And I think that's clean for me.
Okay. Do we need to restate that motion one more time, or is everybody on it?
I can restate it.
Okay.
I motion that we accept section 9.21 with the entity defined as the consolidated government of Augusta, Georgia. So number 3 should read, the offices, functions, or policies of the consolidated government of Augusta, Georgia are effective, including the identification of any causes of inefficiencies or uneconomical practices.
Okay. There being no further comments, please cast your votes.
Mrs. Wilhelmy.
Yes?
Mr. Pearson.
Yes.
This motion carries unanimously.
Okay. I believe, pardon? I believe the last one we have is the audit section, a title change.
On this memo, yes. So let me highlight 2 things. One, you'll note, and I perhaps should have said this earlier, that the numbers that we have been referencing today don't match the numbers in the current charter. These are the new numbers in the sections and orders. And so the audit section is section 9 of the charter document. And we simply want to change the title from auditee response to agency response and report release procedures.
Okay. Dr. Robinson?
I make a motion that we accept the changes to section 9.25 to be named agency response and report release procedures.
Second.
Okay. I have Mr. Fouché as seconding Dr. Robinson's. All right. Now, there not being any discussion, please cast your votes.
Mrs. Wilhelmy.
Yes?
Mr. Pearson.
Yes.
This motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Carl Vinson.
So there is a second memo, and that's actually the memo that was sent to Attorney Plunkett. And Attorney Plunkett has reviewed those issues and has provided some guidance. We shared that guidance with the chair, and I assume it got sent out, although the version that you got handed is the version that, went to Attorney Plunkett, not the version that has his, the summary of his conclusions. And so what I'd like to do is kind of refer to Attorney Plunkett to address these three issues.
Madam Chair, the first issue is referring to Section G, no appointed officer of the consolidated government shall, make sure I'm in the right word. Yes. Shall continue and refers to people that are also seeking election, and they would have to be resigned from employment. The PPPM, which is the Personnel Policies and Procedures Manual, has a section in there, and if I may read it, it refers to a conflict of interest. If any Augusta, Georgia employee seeks or accepts appointment or election to any public office, then when the seeking or holding of such office would be incompatible or would substantially interfere with the discharge of his or her duties as an employee of Augusta, Georgia, such employee shall request a leave of absence without pay while seeking such office and resign employment with Augusta, Georgia if such office is obtained. So basically, a person who may be seeking an elective office that is not incompatible with their duties of their current job, they could continue to seek that employment. However, if it's going to interfere, then they would need to ask for a leave of absence as opposed to, resign, and that way they could, if they were unsuccessful in achieving that office, they could resume their employment as opposed to have to go back through a hiring process. So in my opinion, what you're attempting to achieve exists in our PPPM, and it is fairly understood by most people who would seek elective office that they would need to check with their supervisor or the commission and either take a leave of absence or possibly not, as opposed to this mandatory resignation. So that's, to me, I think we would probably address this already sufficiently in the PPPM, but I am always willing to be, explain why I'm wrong.
Madam Chair, just a question of point of order. I understand it's not my turn, but we're talking about making changes to things that were already voted on. This isn't clarification, this is a change. And I'm not sure, since it's not properly noticed, that it's appropriate for us to discuss.
So we were seeking a clarification from the council on whether or not this should be included. And so in that sense, it is a clarification on the appropriateness of this in the document.
But when we're talking about removing an entire part, that's a change. It's not a clarification. It's not, can you tell us who the word "it's" is referring to?
Fine with us to not have you vote on this, but we want to make sure you're aware of these issues so that when you do have the opportunity to vote, that it's not the first time you see these issues.
Okay, we got Mr. Gaines.
Yes, Madam Chair. I'm just going back to the first page here where it says issues for legal clarification. And I guess this is probably the appropriate time to discuss this. So in reference to, I guess, us having this discussion right now with this proposed charter draft, I guess the only question that I have is that we've got 3 sanctioned community meetings that we're supposed to be engaging in, one being this evening. And so if we're going to, if the proposal is for us to vote on the actual draft at the next meeting, was that March 5th? How can that actually be done if we're still in the middle of doing our town halls, our sanctioned town halls at that? So just that will be my issue here in terms of making sure that we afford the public every opportunity, the 3 opportunities that we did put out there for them to provide comments on this.
So can I answer this for you? We put a motion together and various concerns were raised at the time, that being one of them, that we were at the end of the decision process. And so is this fair to the public to open it up to say, all right, now you can still suggest big changes. The reality is when you entered the drafting portion of this, which basically has been going on since Christmas, I had concerns about that. The body voted to have the town meetings. That's why we scheduled them. The format is going to be, and accordingly to try to skirt those issues, but still meet with the comments. We went ahead and taped this week the biggest pieces of the charter to play will be the very first thing that happens in the town hall. All discussion will occur after that, so that the community clearly will still have the opportunity to talk about things, but you are stating what a couple of us knew when the motion was made, that we're a long ways down the drafting process. So I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Well, I mean, I guess we'll just have to, I'd like to hear from the rest of the community members about this, but this is problematic.
Okay, Ms. Backos?
I just want to, again, renew my objection to us discussing these because they haven't been properly noticed yet. In regards to what Mr. Gaines, his concern about the town hall meetings and voting on the charter and getting feedback from the community, I did actually, I know y'all love it when I do it, so I pulled the transcript from when we took that vote. And it was actually Ms. Robinson that made the motion. And it says, I would like to make a substitute motion that we limit the amount of town halls to 3 with the intent to listen to the community and evaluate anything that is pressing from the feedback that we get. Which means, again, not only is it do those town halls need to be held before we vote on anything, but when do we evaluate? If our next meeting is when we're like, hey, hurry up, vote on this, when is the chance for that feedback to actually be evaluated by this committee? And I mean, I have more. I can go into more detail. I don't think you guys want me to, but it was said on multiple occasions, all the way back from December 18th when we first brought it up. We agreed to hold those meetings, and then it was a month later when they hadn't been scheduled yet, and we did move forward with the vote on that. So again, I have the transcripts. I'm more than happy to send them to y'all if you want copies, but that was the intent of our vote. And to change it now would be wrong, and you, again, would need to...
Nobody's suggesting anything be changed. The meetings are going to happen. There is going to be public feedback.
But we can't forget one part of it.
If it would make you happier, let's consider before any votes be taken, we'll put it on the agenda. If you want to discuss it, there's no problem with that. I don't have an issue with that. I kind of don't think anybody does, really. It's, if there are things that you want to put on the agenda, anybody on this dais has the ability to do that. Does that help? Angela, does it help?
I don't think you can put, we need to discuss the feedback that we got from our community members on the agenda the same day that you intend to put voting on the charter on the agenda, because those two conflict.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
All right, we have Mr. Fouché.
So, Madam Chair, thank you. I disagree that the public has not been notified. This ethics conversation dates back to our last workshop in which Dr. Robinson submitted the new ethics wording. And at that workshop, I know I expressed concerns that this would pass legal muster, and we asked Ms. Britt to take a look at it before she went on vacation. And then I think Ms. Britt kicked it back to Mr. Plunkett for him to comment on it. And we now have Mr. Plunkett's recommendations, and we're arguing whether or not the public has been properly notified. This dates back to November. So I think the public has been adequately notified, and I think we would be remiss in not adopting Mr. Plunkett's language on suggestions to make this a better document.
Mr. France?
Madam Chair, thank you for, I think at this point, we've done the work. I I was under the impression that town halls was being set up to educate the public on the work we've done, not necessarily to take feedback and come back and make changes to what we've already done. So, am I missing something here? Is that not correct?
Mm-mm,
Okay.
that's not correct.
All right, so we have the answer, I hope will become more clear as we go down the line. Can we go to Mr. Pearson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am of the same position as Mr. France. I thought this was purely about education. We've done the work, and we're just simply educating the people as to what we have decided thus far in terms of proposals and whatever else we've done. We've gotten their feedback before. Again, we're listening. But however, as far as changes are concerned, I just thought we were here, we're going to be there tonight simply to educate,
Ms. Backus?
Just to follow up with that, if it was just about educating the community on it, I don't think that some of y'all up here would have voted against it then. I think you voted against it because we asked for community feedback. We wanted them to have an opportunity to have a last chance at a say in anything that is very heavy on their hearts regarding this charter before we vote on it. As far as Mr. Fouché, just to clarify, rules and procedures is what governs what proper notification is, and merely discussing it at a meeting or a workshop does not qualify as properly notifying the public.
Dr. Robinson?
Being the one that made the motion, when I make motions, if you haven't noticed by now, I speak very literally. I'd say exactly what the intent is so that there's no misunderstanding. And in that vote that day, there was an understanding that this was not simply education. It would be for the purpose of potential feedback. Now, I did not make that motion with the notion that we're going to ask 190,000 people to give us their opinion, so much as if there is some defining quality of the conversation that we may need to reassess, that gives us the ability to reassess. Do I think there will be a ton for us to reassess? Actually, no, not really. But we still have to give the public the opportunity to do that. At some point, we would like this charter to pass, do we not? And if we don't have the public trust to do that, then it won't. So I was very intentional in my request, which is why almost half of you guys voted it down, if you remember correctly. We can go back and watch the tape if you like. But it is with the intent that we ask the public their opinion. Now, we are the ones who have spent a lot more time up here doing this with our consultants. We have studied many things that our public may not. So they may come, it's very possible that some folks are going to ask for things that are not in our purview at all. And it may be, hey, that's an ordinance issue. We can't address that. That's fine. And I think we're going to probably get more of that than anything, to be honest. And we can also clarify if there are some questions about some decisions that we've made, we can provide education around why this decision was made. So it may come back that, you know, we don't have anything to verify, validate, update, because we have information the public may not, and we have understanding that the public may not. But we still are going into this with the thought process of, let's hear what you have to say, and we'll give them the appropriate ability to evaluate what they're saying. And if we don't agree, we let them know why. Thank you.
Thank you. Coach? Okay. Let us circle back. Just so this body knows, there is 90 minutes left open on the schedules for the town halls to do just that. No argument. Okay, can we come back to the ethics issue here? So, Mr. Plunkett, are you the one that's speaking to G again?
Yes, ma'am. This was, well, that was the one that I just mentioned, that the current policy, the PPPM, is to allow an employee to take a leave of absence versus resigning from their employment if they sought elective office. And in light of the way this was, it was technical charter questions and issues for review, so I was asked to review this. And in light of the current policy, I'm not sure it's necessary for the person to have to resign their employment, because they could certainly take a leave of absence, which it tracks similarly the same language that's in section, I'm not sure exactly which section, but it appears on page 114 of the PPPM. So that was kind of the first issue. If you'd like me to, we can go through all the items and then discuss. However, the second H, 1 and 2, there was this discussion about any elected official shall be guilty of a malfeasance and would forfeit their office. State law would trump this and say how someone would have to be removed. So I don't think that is necessary or be inconsistent with state law. The second part is that if what happens,
It's not.
I think state law would have to be, you remove a person by recall. You recall the person, and there's some, I think the governor can on certain circumstances remove someone, but I don't think the charter can say this person forfeits their elected position. So the second issue is whether or not someone who is employed by the government should automatically be ceased. And the PPPM has a structure of employment and discipline, and it's progressive discipline, which on many of the issues that were parallel this, it is kind of ethical violations, either at the first or second transgression would allow for termination. There was also refers to that someone not being eligible for election for 3 years. I think, again, state law trumps as to who, when someone is eligible to be elected or run for office. The secondary issue on this about the employees is that your current PPPM actually has, I was talking with the, HR about this, there are, at times, an employee may be said that they're ineligible for rehire, period. And, or they may be ineligible for rehire for that particular department. This would kind of circumvent this and say that the person would be eligible for rehire in 3 years. And so I think that the PPPM probably has a stronger, at times, for certain stronger penalties at certain circumstances. The third thing that I'm concerned about in this regard is that we're creating carve-outs that we need to be, not that it's impossible, but the HR has to be very careful of when they allow something that falls under this ethics committee. They have certain rules they must follow that are going to be inconsistent with the PPPM. So they have to make sure that they kind of, we would either need to adopt this paragraph, these provisions into the policy so that there would not be any chance of someone being mistreated. Does that make sense in that regard? So that's kind of how I was looking at this, that I think the PPPM addresses the employees fairly well and may not necessarily be needed. So that was kind of the ethics sections.
Can we back up and get?
Sure.
Let's make sure we're understanding what you're saying better. You are saying under the issue to resolve, would state law prohibit this paragraph? And the take home that I heard was it is not incompatible with state law. Did I hear that wrongly?
It is incompatible as to elected officials, because we have any elected official shall be forfeit their office, which means they're being removed from office. If we look at H2, any elected official shall forfeit their office or position and shall be ineligible for election for a period of time, for 3 years. And I think state law trumps that, because The removal process for an elected official is controlled by state law. Same way with qualifications. If this was something that someone had their rights revoked, like voting rights, and they're ineligible to serve in an elected capacity, state law will say when they're able to be elected, or at least qualified to run for office. And I think that we are unnecessarily getting involved in state law, and I think state law is just going to trump us on that. Similar to our conversation earlier about, condemnations in eminent domain, state law is state law. As to the individual employees, I'm questioning if we either need to do one of two things. If you adopt this type of language, then it needs to also be reflected in the PPPM, or alternatively, let the PPPM stand and treat this as something that we have taught multiple times, have this stand as something that an ordinance should address. And the PPM is essentially an ordinance.
And you're speaking this specifically about ethics under H2 at this point?
H1 and H2.
1 and H2, both. And you're saying that whatever we do should be harmonized with the PPP, either by us imposing it or by them adopting it.
If you impose this, then I think that in the recommendations that's what goes with this report, is that the recommendation would be that the PPPM be to be brought in compliance with these rules. Because you don't want to have someone being terminated or alternatively suspended for something that is a terminable event. And if the person under the PPPM says that you're not eligible for rehire, but our charter says they're eligible for rehire in 3 years, then the charter controls. So we need to make sure that the two are reconciled.
Okay. Mr. Fouché, could I please defer to the chief author of the ethics to respond to this before we move on?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson.
So I'm going to make a motion to reconsider us accepting the ethics language, and I'm going to explain why. When I wrote the ethics language, it was much more detailed than what we got back from the Carl Vinson Institute. These items that we're currently discussing are what were given back to us. Am I incorrect on that? Because if we're now being told that these things are being trumped by state law, then why were they in the document that we received back?
Those were the items that were voted on and that we received.
That's my point. You guys rewrote it, right?
No.
No.
Not that piece.
We sent the ethics to, because remember, I had a much longer document.
And we had back and forth with council on what should be included.
Okay, so then the final document that came back to us being the ethics information that we voted on, who authored that? Because I didn't.
It was an attempt to mirror what y'all wanted, what was provided, and trying to make it an efficient document.
Great. So then why weren't these things caught then?
I don't know, ma'am.
Okay. So that's my motion, is for us to reconsider us accepting the ethics language, because clearly there are some discrepancies between what is state law and what is applicable, and the advice we have gotten has not fully developed that. So I would like us to reconsider accepting the ethics language that we accepted from the beginning.
Point of clarity, please.
Can before we go on, what specifically, just these two sections or?
The entire thing.
The entire
because
thing.
Now these two sections being up for review in this way makes the entire thing something we need to review again. Because if these things were trumped by state law today, then they were trumped by state law before. What else is missing?
Let's go. Is there a second to that motion?
Well, there's been no motion yet.
Yes, I made a motion.
Is there a second to that motion?
But you can't make a motion to reconsider if it was voted on in a previous meeting. It has to be properly noticed to the public. Attorney Plunkett, could you please clarify? Because this whole conversation right now is it extends beyond any scope of clarification. It is in violation of the rules of procedure. And as our parliamentarian, you should have put the brakes on this before. We're up here, you guys, trying to help our local government get back on track and follow rules while we're breaking them ourselves.
Ms. Backus, I would differ in your opinion of what the parliamentarian, I rule on issues that are raised. But as to this issue, if you want to look at this, it says, look at issues for review. That's what was noticed in your item there. I agree with you that you cannot rescind that action today. You would be putting the body on notice if Ms. Robinson wishes to do that she was bringing the motion the next hour to rescind the ethics section. So I think you're correct there, and I agree with you. But I differ with you that I should put the brakes on it. I think that's a different issue.
I've brought it up more than once. And so because I have brought it up to you more than once, at that point, I've asked you.
It is the chair that runs the meeting, ma'am.
And actually, Mr. Fouché was up next.
But I am, according to the rules of procedure, allowed to interrupt when there is a.
You can bring a motion.
We'll just make up our own rules.
It's a point of order is what you're saying that you have, and you've asked for a point of order indirectly. And the chair is appropriate to recognize you to raise the issue of parliamentary rule.
And parliamentary rule states it's not properly noticed in its.
To rescind, you're correct.
Thank you. Mr. Fouché.
So I'm going to reiterate, this body has never voted at all on any ethics language. It's gone back and forth between the Carl Vincent Institute.
Yes, we did.
We have not.
Yes, we did.
We've not voted on any language for ethics, which gone back and forth between legal, between Carl Vincent and Mr. Plunkett. And today,
We're checking a date. We actually went through all the meetings and watched it, and she's looking to see what day it was voted on.
okay, well, listen, at the end of the day, I think if we ignore our legal counsel, that we are committing a horrible offense, and that I was going to make the motion that we accept the guidance from counsel, and I think we would be remiss in not doing so.
So the ethics language was actually voted on December 4th, apparently.
As well as the internal audit language.
But didn't we ask legal counsel to come back with their recommendations on that language?
I think that was prior to that.
Yeah.
And we now have that language. So what are we debating?
I think what you have in front of you was the language that he came back with.
Okay, and now today, we have
Or somebody came back with.
line out items
Legal counsel.
based on this, based on the city's retained attorney, counsel, advising us that these changes are in violation of state law. So I don't really understand why we're debating this at all.
I'm a little, are you saying that changes you want to make today, or the changes that were
I'm
made
saying the
on
lined
December 4th?
out recommendations of our legal counsel have recommended that we should not be adopting this language. And I'm agreeing with legal counsel and making the motion that we should adopt Mr. Plunkett's recommendations for our ethics language.
Okay, we have Robinson.
The reason we can't simply just adopt the language is because we technically don't have it. We have things that should be removed, but we don't have the complete language because this is a material change of what we voted on December 4th. Because it is a material change, it has to be addressed a little bit differently within rules and procedure. So if I have to make notice now that I plan at the next meeting to rescind my original motion, then this is my notice and I'm going to lunch.
So, Mr. Plunkett, in order, can you explain to the committee what is involved in rescinding?
So Dr. Robinson has put it on notice that she is going to make a motion to rescind prior action relative to the ethics sections, and so it would be appropriate that that be put on the next agenda.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair, have we officially adjourned the meeting? We had people up and walking out. What's going on? Have you officially adjourned the meeting, Madam Chair? Is the meeting adjourned, Madam Chair?
No, it is not. So let's come back to.
I have a place.
All right, so let the record show that one member has left the body. Ms. Bacos has left. All right, let us move on. I think what I'm hearing from the body is that we're going to put a motion on to rescind the ethics section. And I believe that's going to involve 2 meetings to fix. Is that correct?
We've been noticed this week, so at the next full meeting, Dr. Robinson's motion could be held and heard.
Okay. So we can arrive at a decision. Dr. Robinson, would you list those specific questions we want them to generate language for to bring back to us that all parties review before the meeting?
I would like to have ethics language that is correct, because we apparently voted on something that was incorrect.
So, Carl Vinson, is it possible, given the fact that we've just gone through this conversation, we're able to marry up all the competing requests and devise the appropriate language?
I think what I'm hearing, I think I understand what you're asking for, and the answer is yes.
Okay. Mr. France, did you have any?
No, Madam Chair, only thing I was going to interject based on what I'm hearing, we want the correct language. And I thought that General Counsel, Mr. Plunkett, had stated what needed to be taken out and or what needed to be put in. So if Carl Vinson works with General Counsel to come up with the correct language, will we be agreeable as this body to accept that?
Can I answer that, Madam Chair? Mm-hmm. So the reason to have to make adjustments in the motion is because they would have to come back with new language, and we would have to revote.
Correct. That's my point. If Carl Vinson and General Counsel got together to get that new language to bring back, is that acceptable to this body? That's my question.
Now here's a question, and maybe this is for Mr. Plunkett. If they come back with new language, because we have voted on this language on the 4th, we do still have to go through the rescinding process, or is there a way to make an adjustment to that motion without redoing everything?
I think the better choice would be to rescind what you've done and at the same time make the motion to adopt new language.
Okay.
And I think you could put that on the agenda to consider and approve at the next meeting.
Okay. Sounds good. Now, does that mean we will be able to get the new language before that meeting so that people have time to review it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's move on down to audits. Issues to resolve. We're still working our way through issues for clarification.
So, Madam Chair, on this, my recommendation was paragraph I. I'm not sure if the way I reads currently is conduct or oversee the request for proposal and selection process for the firm conducting the annual financial audits, and it continues on. My suggestion would be to delete the words conduct or oversee. In fact, if I could ask Natasha to put this on the line.
She's got it on here. Okay.
The rationale was that this could be either an RFP or an RFQ, and that you would want the assistance of the audit committee, but this is also a procurement process. And much of what you're having to do after that is really getting into the procurement process and things of that nature. And I think that if you were to have the audit committee assist with the RFP or RFQ and the selection, which would be, arguably a seat on the review committee, that would take care of most of this, as opposed to getting into, if there's fewer than 3 firms and the selection issues, the procurement process should be allowed to be used to select your candidates for this purpose. And so if you can see on the screen, my suggestion is to remove conduct or oversee, add the idea that it could be an RFQ, and then end with them having the issue that they would help with the process for conducting the selection of the financial statements. So I think the rest of it is unnecessary because it's really getting into the procurement side.
Okay. So that harmonizes the needs of the charter, the audit committee, and procurement. Puts them all on the same page. Is that correct?
That was the hope.
Okay. Do we have questions on this count? Look at the screen versus what I think you maybe have, because it talks about what would get struck so that you would harmonize all the language. Do we have any comments on this?
I agree with it.
You do?
I do.
Okay, please. Go ahead.
I mean, I agree with every single change legal counsel has made. So I think Dr. Robinson is going to make the motion at our next meeting that we adopt new language.
Well, but there's no new language on this particular one. This one is more strike through. More strike through. We're right here on number I.
Right, I am too.
Yeah, okay. So did you want to put this one to bed so that this could be included? Is there a desire to put through a motion that adopts what is being written?
Motion to accept it as written with the strike through.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Powell and Mr. France. Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments? If not, let's cast our votes. Who was number 7?
Oh, sorry.
Got it.
1 and 2.
Ms. Wilhelmy,
Yes.
Mr. Pearson,
Yes.
this motion carries 9-0 with Dr. Robertson and Ms. Bakos out.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, and Carl Benson, I'm going to kick it back to you to see if you had.
I think we've given you enough work for one day. So, just so that we're clear, we will go back and finish putting together a document for you to review and have that to you as soon as we can. You'll then be able to review that and take into account any comments that you have at the public hearings so that you can then deal with that document appropriately.
All right, thank you. Does that meet with everybody else's approval on this body? All right, thank you very much.
Madam Chair?
Sir?
What do we decide in reference to voting on this at the next meeting?
So we're going to put a motion. It will come up under old business. Ms. Robinson said she would agree to rescind and adopt new language in one motion on
Okay.
old business.
So is that reference to us voting on the completed draft of the charter?
No, that's separate from
Okay,
that.
okay. Yeah, I just saw that on here. That's why I didn't know if we had
Yeah.
made a decision.
That'll be separate, but I think, given what we're hearing consensus-wise today, that it may be in the draft language, but we are going to vote on it separately to make sure it's endorsed properly. Procedurally, we should adopt it separately. So that,
Okay, but are we doing this at the next meeting?
We hope so.
Okay.
But we don't have a draft to review yet. So that's kind of the hope. Okay, now then we have okay, we're done with that. Mr. Plunkett, you were going to discuss the concept of promoting the charter?
Yes, ma'am. And in light of the hour, I will be as brief as I can. After working on a document for as many months as you have, and I've heard different members of saying this, is that we would like people to approve this. It is a fine line of advocating and, educating. And so when we were doing the Coliseum SPLOST, or the C-SPLOST, we worked on a small memo, a friend of mine and I, who's the bond counsel, and I just did a pretty simple replacement of authority with Charter Review Committee. But basically it's this, and this is a much longer document than you probably are wanting or even needing. But question one is basically the one that you're looking at. But it's this, is that at a town hall meeting, either the first three, or if y'all do some four, once the document is together, the idea is that you want to be able to say, this is what we were looking at. This is why we made these changes. We think these are good changes. But you don't want to be able, or don't want to find yourself going, and you need to go out and vote yes. You don't need to be telling someone that you disagree with it and tell them to go vote no, because that's where we start violating rules. Individually, you can tell what your position is and why you think they should or should not, but it is a very, very fine line when you say it, I think you should vote or not, and you qualify it that in my personal opinion, that's fine, but you're also known as a member of the CRC. So what I don't want you to get in a situation of town hall meetings or out in the community and things of that nature, because we don't want you to get an ethics violation or anything like that. And it's just basically tell people to read it, tell people why the changes were made, tell them to go vote, just don't tell them how to vote. And so I have a simple memo on that. Well, I say it's simple, but a bond lawyer wrote it, so it's not that simple. It's a mere 13 questions that are answered, but mostly it's dealing with the idea of funding campaign committees and should you give money to campaign committees. And individually you can do these things, but just be very careful that when you reference that, I personally think this, and your tagline is CRC member, you're really using that official capacity. And the idea is that government funds, and recognize that you're a committee, it's not like it's an authority, you're not the government, but you're in this kind of area that you don't want to be seen as advocating in the resources of the government in any capacity be used to advocate for something. So always educate. And if you have questions, I'll be happy to do it. We also reference the State Ethics Committee. I know that I'm going to say Dr. Kelsey and her organization probably has some opinions on what is educating versus advocating, because they're certainly involved with voting. And those are resources you can reach out to. But I just don't want y'all to, I think I heard someone say, we need to get the vote out. And it was kind of like a yes vote, and that's not what y'all are here to do. Okay? And so, and I will just distribute this memo rather than reading any of it to y'all, and I have a few extra copies if somebody would like to see it. Okay?
All right, thank you. Good advice, and I think I'm going to take advantage of Mr. Gein's request to briefly lay out what tonight's town halls are going to look like, what next week's town halls are looking like. In an attempt to keep the message standardized on behalf of the committee for things that we did approve, we went ahead and we taped 4 vignettes. One is an introduction talking about the process, how it works, what is the difference between a charter and an ordinance, just simple basic things. It then talks about how it leaves our hands, it goes to Atlanta, Atlanta does what they will, and then it gets put on the docket for the citizens to cast their votes one way or the other. And that's section 1. Section 2 is going to be Coach Clinton discussing form of government. Section 3 is going to be Mr. Powell talking about audits. And section 4 will be Dr. Robinson talking about ethics. And so that will be what is put out there for education. After that, it's wide open. A discussion will be had to say what questions do you have? What opinions would you like to share? What is going to come from this? And that should be about 90 minutes worth. So we'll have pretty close to about 5 to 6 hours of public input between now and next Thursday. I think, Mr. Lewis.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Coach Bryan went on the former government committee. Why is he leading that campaign?
He was here, he was willing, and we let
I
him do
understand
it.
that. I understand that.
What's that?
I understand that.
Yeah.
Mr. Fouché
There was
was
no
the.
science to it. He volunteered for it pretty much.
Oh, okay. There you go. He volunteered. I didn't hear that part.
He could tell you himself. All right, is there any other business to come before?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Fouché, sorry.
So we're going to have 3 public meetings, February 19th, which is today, one on the 24th, one on the 26th. The main body will meet again on March 5th. Carl Vincent, is it fair to say we can see the finish line with the finished body of work?
Yes, there will be a document for you.
Okay. Well, with that in mind, I'd like to make
I've been
a...
instructed to come back to the mic. So yes, there will be a document for you to review.
Okay.
To be complete.
With that in mind, I'd like to make a motion, Madam Chair. I move that this Charter Review Committee conduct itself in such a manner that we will submit our body of work to the Georgia legislators on a date that would meet the time frame necessary to allow the revised charter to be included on a 2026 ballot.
Is there a second?
Madam Chair, I think that's going to exceed your new business.
Sorry?
I don't think that's, I understand the desire to have that motion, but I don't think we've been properly noticed for that motion today. But I think you can make that motion at the next meeting.
So the next meeting is scheduled for March 5th. Sir?
Madam Chair, I prefer if we have the document in hand before we're making that motion.
Okay, so I'll ask again, was there a second? Are we going to withdraw, or what are we doing here?
Motion failed for lack of second, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, I'm simply going to follow the lead of the attorney in this case, recommendation, and we'll go from there. Yeah.
Can we ask that that be included on the next agenda?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
I'll email you the motion.
Okay. Is there any other business to be concluded today? Okay, accepted. We're adjourned. Okay, so